Chapter 21:14. Night Sorrow felt that something was wrong. His whole body felt hot, and then he lost consciousness. At this time, Night Sorrow's clone in the array also stopped cultivating. It looked normal, but in fact, its soul had stopped operating. It was as if it was resting with its eyes closed. This was the power of the Heaven and Earth Harmony pill that Jun Xuanji had spent a lot of effort to research. It could even knock down a giant dragon. The pill's effect was not only on the main body's soul and body, but also on the clone. Night Sorrow's main body was sitting on the chair and lying on the table. Jun Xuanji stood up and helped Night Sorrow to the cloud bed at the side of the secret cultivation room. But at this time, Xiao Kong appeared. She was the Clear Sky Pagoda's artifact spirit, so she could sense Night Sorrow very strongly. Night Sorrow drank too much. "I'll serve him. You don't need to care about him. Don't peek here," Jun Xuanji said to Xiao Kong. Xiao Kong looked at Jun Xuanji and left. She was sure that Jun Xuanji didn't have any killing intent. Moreover, as long as Jun Xuanji showed killing intent, she would know immediately and transfer Jun Xuanji out of the Clear Sky Pagoda. Night Sorrow's soul had a problem, but his body was stimulated by the Heaven and Earth Harmony pill. Some reactions had appeared, but he didn't know it at all. Jun Xuanji laid Night Sorrow on the cloud bed. "Don't blame me. For me, this is the best and most effective way." Jun Xuanji scolded as she helped Night Sorrow change his clothes. Night Sorrow's scourge was very scary. But at this time, she had no way out. She could only brace herself. Swaying her skirt, Jun Xuanji looked up and exhaled. Because in the next moment, her most sacred and most private things would be given to the man in front of her. When everything started, Jun Xuanji let out a cry. She was prepared, but the reality was still cruel. When Jun Xuanji left, Yi Shang was still sleeping soundly. Jun Xuanji was worried that Yi Shang's body would be harmed by the Heaven and Earth Harmony pill. Even though he had just experienced it, Jun Xuanji accompanied Yi Shang to go crazy twice. After covering Night Sorrow with a blanket, Jun Xuanji asked Xiao Kong to send her away. She was in a good mental state, but she was still nervous. She didn't know how Night Sorrow would react. When Yi Shang woke up, it was already the next day. When Yi Shang woke up and saw that his body was only covered with a blanket and some marks, he immediately understood everything. He didn't even need to ask Little Kong. Zhu Jillian appeared when Night Sorrow was 200 miles away from the cultivation place. She was waiting here. She handed a letter to Night Sorrow. "Xuanji asked me to give this to you. He wants you to read it now." After giving the letter to Night Sorrow, Zhu Jillian left. She couldn't help Jun Xuanji much, but she still did what she could. This letter was indeed Jun Xuanji's idea. After reading the letter, Night Sorrow sighed. He didn't say anything and returned to his original cultivation place. Then, he turned around and entered the Clear Sky Pagoda. Jun Xuanji's letter made it very clear. If Night Sorrow didn't blame her and could forgive her, then don't look for her. She also didn't want this matter to become a big deal. In the future, she would let nature take its course. She wouldn't change her principles and standards because of this matter. She also wouldn't make things difficult for Night Sorrow. Looking at the letter in his hand again, Yi Shang bitterly smiled. The thing he had tried his best to avoid had still happened. Furthermore, he had been pushed back. He had never thought that something like this would happen. As for the follow-up, Night Sorrow felt that he should find a suitable time to communicate with Jun Xuanji. Since this matter had happened, it had to be solved. However, he felt that Jun Xuanji also needed to be stabilized. Night Sorrow sighed and continued to cultivate. Jun Xuanji didn't leave the heavenly desolate city. She stayed in Night Sorrow's residence and waited for the news. If Night Sorrow came after reading the letter, then things would become troublesome. If he read the letter and went back to cultivate, then this matter wouldn't become a big deal. When Zhu Jillian came back and told Jun Xuanji that Night Sorrow went back after reading the letter, Jun Xuanji let out a sigh of relief. This fierce medicine is still effective. Night Sorrow is also a sentimental person. What I did this time was worth it. I didn't misjudge him. After saying this, Jun Xuanji's aura changed. Although his cultivation and realm didn't increase, his Dao heart had changed. Positive asterisk square root version I initial I, you're ruthless. I really admire you. Zhu Jiuyun shook her head. She truly admired Jun Xuanji's courage to do anything. She really couldn't bring herself to scheme against Night Sorrow. Even if it didn't hurt Night Sorrow, Zhu Jiuyun understood that Jun Xuanji was more or less influenced by Mo Tianji's personality. In the past, Jun Xuanji was good at scheming, but he wasn't this wild. Night Sorrow and Jun Xuanji went into closed-door cultivation. It was as if nothing had happened. Perhaps apart from the two involved, only Zhu Jiuyun knew about it. Of course, Zhu Jiuyun wouldn't reveal this matter. Because of the entanglement in his heart, Night Sorrow worked extra hard. In half a year, his void, destruction, and spacetime had all reached the peak of the First Emperor tribulation. He could break through at any time. His soul force had already crossed this level. His soul force was 1/3 more than ordinary cultivators. This wasn't a simple number. It was equivalent to having 30% more strength. Before breaking through, Night Sorrow planned to kill a few elites of the Devil Wing clan. Mo Zhantian was very surprised that Night Sorrow appeared and took the initiative to challenge him. For a long time, Night Sorrow had never taken the initiative to challenge him. After careful observation, Mo Zhantian knew the reason. He found that Night Sorrow's cultivation had reached a bottleneck and was on the verge of a breakthrough. This situation surprised Mo Zhantian. Night Sorrow's cultivation speed was too fast. He didn't send anyone to accept the challenge. Even Yin Xiaotian and Shan Ling were at the peak of the First Emperor tribulation. After refusing to accept the challenge, Mo Zhantian felt that this was an opportunity because every cultivator was in an unstable stage after breaking through. He told Yin Xiaotian and Shan Ling to seize the opportunity to break through. Shan Ling was an outstanding cultivator of the Thousand Mountain boundary. Then, he told Dark Feather to prepare for battle. After Night Sorrow broke through, he didn't wait for Night Sorrow to stabilize his realm. After being refused the challenge, although Night Sorrow was a little annoyed, he didn't make any verbal attacks. Night Sorrow's original body and avatar left the Nirvana Ocean Bridge and went to the Samsara Island to undergo their tribulation. The tribulation came very fiercely. Even though Night Sorrow was prepared, he still suffered a big blow. It could even be said that more than half of the Jinqi in his original body was consumed. It was only because of his tyrannical body that he wasn't injured. When Night Sorrow returned to the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, he found that there was no one there. The Grand Elder and Lu Qi weren't there. Lin Xuan and the others had also returned. After asking Lin Xuan, he found out that the elders of the 100 races were discussing something. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow jumped off the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, returned to his original cultivation position, and continued to cultivate. He wanted to stabilize his realm while cultivating. Chapter 21:15. When Luo Qing arrived, Night Sorrow was not back yet. However, just as Mo Tianji was checking the surroundings, Night Sorrow returned. Mo Tianji cursed inwardly. After confirming that the Grand Elder and Lu Qi were not around, Mo Tianji knew that this was her chance. Although she would have another chance if she persevered, she was worried that Jun Xuanji would make a mistake, which would threaten her safety. Luo Qing, our cooperation is over. I will kill you not because of the heavenly law oath, but because a traitor like you is the tragedy of an entire race. Mo Tianji appeared and rushed onto the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, charging forward at full speed. There were many cultivators on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, but Mo Tianji did not dare to move forward slowly. Her aura would easily attract attention. In fact, this was the case. The moment Mo Tianji appeared, someone sensed it. Yi Shang had sensed it. He had fought Mo Tianji more than once. Most importantly, the Nirvana Ocean Bridge was where his soul had merged with the world. He was very sensitive to all auras. Next was Mo Zhantian. He was from the same generation as Mo Tianji, so he was naturally familiar with her aura. The situation was serious. Night Sorrow let out a long whistle and sent out a signal. Then, he prepared for battle. His doppelganger rushed toward Mo Zhantian. He had to stop Mo Zhantian from helping Mo Tianji. Even if he died, Night Sorrow would not let Mo Tianji return to Heaven Wasteland. She would affect the war situation. While his doppelganger went to stop Mo Zhantian, Night Sorrow's main body charged toward Mo Tianji. He had to stop her. Everything that happened stunned the Heaven Wasteland army and the cultivators of the 100 Races Alliance on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. In an instant, the Nirvana Ocean Bridge was filled with killing intent. After Night Sorrow got close to Mo Tianji, he first cut the space to block her path. Then, he released the Samsara domain supported by the power of virtue. He slammed the human emperor's seal toward Mo Tianji with his left hand, and the Samsara halberd in his right hand was the destruction true dragon art. Night Sorrow attacked with all his might. He would not give Mo Tianji any more chances. On the other hand, Night Sorrow had to hurry because his clone would not be able to hold off Mo Zhantian for long. Once Mo Zhantian defeated his clone, Mo Zhantian would come over. At that time, even Mo Zhantian would not be able to stop him. Mo Zhantian would then take Mo Tianji away. Mo Tianji was stunned. She had sensed that Night Sorrow had returned, but she hadn't paid attention to his cultivation level. In her subjective impression, Night Sorrow was still the same old Night Sorrow, but now Night Sorrow was displaying the cultivation of the second sovereign tribulation, which was much stronger than hers. A miscalculation. Mo Tianji knew that she had miscalculated, but she had to rush forward and meet up with Mo Zhantian. This was her only chance. Mo Tianji circled around the area created by the spatial crack. Her body flashed forward, but she had lost her speed. Night Sorrow's human sovereign seal, which was activated by the human sovereign's power, was extremely powerful. It had already enveloped her. Besides, the suppression of the reincarnation field was also extremely strong. No matter how knowledgeable and experienced she was helpless before the suppression of absolute power. After suppressing Mo Tianji's speed, Night Sorrow attacked with the Samsara halberd. He had to hurry because his clone had already come into contact with Mo Zhantian. The reincarnation true dragon spell had no effect on Mo Tianji's soul because her soul power was too strong. Even though she had been injured a few times, she was still at the level of the tribulation of the seventh sovereign. Her soul contained the Tao rhythm. Mo Tianji's soul power vibrated, resisting the influence of Night Sorrow's unique skill. However, her body could not avoid the complete suppression of Night Sorrow's human sovereign seal and merit field. It was too easy for a human sovereign tribulation cultivator to suppress an imperial emperor, no matter how domineering Mo Tianji had been. In a panic, Mo Tianji swung her sword to block Night Sorrow's attack with the Samsara halberd. Pa! With a crisp sound, Mo Tianji's longsword was shattered by the Samsara halberd. Night Sorrow's Samsara halberd was shockingly heavy. Even Long Jean had a hard time holding it. How heavy was it? In addition, it had the element of destruction. Therefore, Mo Tianji's weapon was instantly destroyed, causing her to vomit blood. Beginning extreme kill. After finishing the Samsara attribute's unique skill, Night Sorrow used his unique skill again. For the sake of surprise, Night Sorrow did not hold back at all. He used the beginning attribute's unique skill directly. Mo Tianji's expression changed drastically. She recognized the attributes of Night Sorrow's two unique skills. However, she was still bound by Night Sorrow's field. It was difficult for her to dodge. Break! Mo Tianji roared. She broke her left arm and used it as a weapon to attack Night Sorrow's weapon. She had no weapon and did not dare to use her body to block Night Sorrow's attack. In order to buy time for Mo Zhantian to come and save her, she could only do this. She realized that Mo Zhantian had already defeated Night Sorrow once. Night Sorrow's doppelganger was indeed in a critical situation. What was Mo Zhantian's level? He was a 9 Emperor Tribulation. He was already preparing for the Divine Destruction Tribulation. On the other hand, Night Sorrow was a two-emperor tribulation. The difference between the two was too great. The battle scene was just like the one between him and Mo Tianji. Kill. At this moment, the heavenly astral king and Huang Ling appeared. The two of them walked around the city and planned to take a look at the city gate. Seeing this scene, the two of them were shocked. They did not expect such a scene to happen here. They had to support Night Sorrow first. They could not let anything happen to Night Sorrow. They knew how important Night Sorrow was to the Celestial Realm and the Hundred Races Alliance. At this moment, Night Sorrow's doppelganger was defeated by Mo Zhantian for the second time. His right arm was fractured and the corner of his mouth was full of blood. This was the effect of his merit's immortal body and spacetime realm defense. Otherwise, he would have been killed instantly. You must die today. Mo Zhantian was also ruthless. Since the battle had already started, he had to maximize the benefits. He wanted to kill Night Sorrow and save Mo Tianji. These were the two major factors that would affect the situation. Seeing that Mo Zhantian was going all out to kill him, Night Sorrow used spacetime realm. His body switched between the alternate space and the celestial realm, reducing Mo Zhantian's attack to the minimum. Previously, he was severely injured because he took the initiative to attack, not allowing Mo Zhantian to break through his blockade. Now that Mo Zhantian wanted to kill him, he naturally would not fight head-on. Mo Zhantian attacked Night Sorrow with all his strength. At the same time, he moved toward the battlefield where Mo Tianji and Night Sorrow were fighting. Yin Xiaotian and the others from the Devil-Winged clan also surrounded him. Retreat! Mo Zhantian shouted. He knew that the experts from the Tianhuang city would arrive soon. Then, the people he brought would not be able to escape. With a shout, Mo Zhantian slashed with all his might at the alternate dimension where Yishan was. Bang! After a muffled sound, the void and the alternate space shattered. Night Sorrow was blasted out of the alternate space by Mo Zhantian. His Dao domain was shattered and blood spurted out of his mouth. A cultivator who had fused with the soul was already at the peak of countless reincarnations. Night Sorrow could not fight against him. It could be said that he was a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Slash. Mo Zhantian slashed at Night Sorrow again. He wanted to kill Night Sorrow first before going to help Mo Tianji. There was no way to dodge, and the reinforcements had not arrived yet. Night Sorrow exerted force with his left hand and threw the blood-Chilan evil-slaying spear towards Mo Zhantian's blade aura. He could not use the spear to block the attack. That way, his body would be affected and the situation would be even more dangerous. Chapter 21:16. However, Heavenly Astral King and Huang Ling had arrived. Heavenly Astral King immediately used Icebound Heaven and Earth to suppress Mo Zhantian's speed. Huang Ling attacked with a sword light, cutting Mo Zhantian and Night Sorrow apart. The couple knew that they could not defeat Mo Zhantian, so their goal was clear. They wanted to delay Mo Zhantian and save Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow threw the blood-Chilan evil-slaying spear to buy himself some time. You two deserve to die. Mo Zhantian roared angrily. He knew that it was unrealistic to kill Yi Sorrow. Even if Heavenly Astral King and Huang Ling's cultivation were not as high as his, it was unrealistic to defeat them in a short time. Mo Zhantian's body flashed, and he rushed towards the battle between Night Sorrow and Mo Tianji. If he could not kill Night Sorrow, then he would save Mo Tianji first. Saving Mo Tianji was also a victory. At this moment, Night Sorrow and Mo Tianji's battle was very intense. It was almost as if Mo Zhantian was crushing him. Mo Tianji's body and arms were already gone. They were all used to blast Night Sorrow away. Suppress. Seeing that Mo Tianji's condition was deteriorating, Night Sorrow's human emperor's seal came down towards Mo Tianji. Mo Tianji's body was suppressed by Night Sorrow's domain, and she could not move. She had no choice but to turn around and kick at the human emperor's seal. Mo Tianji's leg blocked the human emperor's seal, but she was also bound by the fire of virtue of the human emperor's seal. It started to burn her body. Soul destruction slash. Night Sorrow used his ultimate move again, attacking Imo-Tianji. At the same time, he used the reincarnation True Dragon art with the reincarnation Heavenly Halberd. He did not plan to give Imo-Tianji any chance because she was too good at jumping around. If he did not kill her, he did not know when she would cause trouble. Imo-Tianji could not escape. Her energy was low, and she could not break free from the human emperor's seal. Night Sorrow's soul destruction slash was blocked by her powerful soul power, but she could not dodge the reincarnation Heavenly Halberd this time, and it hit her body directly. Update July 7th. 4 blood and flesh flew everywhere. The halberd's destructive power shattered Imo-Tianji's body, leaving only her soul behind. As a cultivator of the tribulation of the seven emperors, Imo-Tianji's soul was filled with Taoist rhymes. Her soul body could be seen clearly. She struggled under the fire of merit of the human emperor's seal, but she could not escape. Night Sorrow not only activated the human emperor's seal, but also had the merit samsara domain to suppress it. Imo-Tianji rushed over. Night Sorrow did not give him a chance to save Imo-Tianji. He used his domain to suppress Imo-Tianji's human emperor's seal and ran towards Tianhuang City. Heavenly Astral King and Huang Ling kept attacking Imo-Tianji to reduce his speed. Night Sorrow's clone suppressed his injuries and used the space-time realm and void steps. He passed by Imo-Tianji, Heavenly Astral King, and Huang Ling's battle group and met up with his real body. He did not dare to stay on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. Imo-Tianji's current goal was to save Imo-Tianji. However, if Imo-Tianji attacked him on the way back, his clone would be destroyed. Night Sorrow, who was flying with Imo-Tianji's soul body, was slower. However, Imo-Tianji was restrained by Heavenly Astral King and Huang Ling, so he could not increase his speed. The two battle groups approached Tianhuang City. The cultivators on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge also retreated. Luo Cheng's heart pounded. He was glad that he had transferred his wife and children from Imo-Tianji's spatial treasure to his spatial treasure. Otherwise, Imo-Tianji, who could not escape, would have bitten him. Imo-Tianji, you are looking for trouble. The Grand Elder had appeared. Someone had already reported to the Council of Elders, and the Grand Elder had rushed over. Of course, it was a little late. If Heavenly Astral King and Huang Ling did not appear, Night Sorrow's clone would have been killed. When the Grand Elder appeared, Imo-Tianji did not continue to approach Tianhuang City. His cultivation level was higher than the Grand Elder's, but the Grand Elder was in Tianhuang City with the support of Tianhuang City's array formation. Imo-Tianji could not take him down in a short time. Soon, the Tianhuang City Lord and King Yawu would appear. Then, he would be in trouble. At this time, Night Sorrow had also entered the Nirvana City's gate tower. Safe. Safe. Night Sorrow began to deal with Imo-Tianji. If he did not do it now, when would he do it? With the human emperor's seal suppressing Imo-Tianji, Night Sorrow's samsara halberd began to stab at Imo-Tianji's soul body. He was really angry. This Imo-Tianji was really tricking him. Zhu Jiuyun's clone had been killed, and his clone had almost been killed. Imo-Tianji could not escape. Night Sorrow's suppression was much stronger than Yan Wushuang's. He used the karmic taboo Dao domain and the human emperor's seal to suppress her. Back then, Yan Wushuang had only been a soul body. She had only used her soul power to activate the human emperor's seal. The power was much weaker. Night Sorrow stabbed the samsara halberd 4 times in a row. Imo-Tianji's soul body was unstable. Night Sorrow's soul trembled and put the defenseless Imo-Tianji into the human emperor's seal. After putting Imo-Tianji's soul body into the space of the human emperor's seal, Night Sorrow felt relieved. As long as he was alive, Imo-Tianji would not be able to do anything. He planned to deal with her later. Now, he wanted to see what Imo-Tianji wanted. I want Tianji's soul body. You can name the price. Imo-Tianji shouted as he retreated. Go to hell. The Grand Elder was furious. Why would he talk to him? He rushed out and started the fight. Night Sorrow, are you okay? Lin Piao stood beside Night Sorrow. My original body is fine. My clone was almost killed by that guy. The difference in strength is too big. If I had come a little later, I would have been dead. Now, I only have half of my life left. I won't be able to recover for a while, Night Sorrow said. At this time, the real battle had begun on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. The Grand Elder's original body and clone were fighting at the same time. Intent Realm spear arts were unleashed. Old Man Duan, this is your territory. I won't tangle with you anymore. Next time, I'll take your life. Mo Zhantian roared as he retreated. The Grand Elder couldn't stop Mo Zhantian from leaving, but he didn't stop him. Instead, he threw out a few words. Mo Zhantian, your Demon Wing clan is an inferior race. Your reputation and dignity are **T, don't talk to us about gentlemen's battles in the future. When we see cultivators from your Demon Wing clan, we will fight to the death. Old Man Duan, what do you want in exchange for Tianji's soul body? You can name the price. Mo Zhantian shouted as he retreated. Night Sorrow, give him a definite answer. The Grand Elder looked at Night Sorrow. You want Mo Tianji's soul body? Dream on. As long as I'm alive, it's impossible. I'll deal with her later. Night Sorrow shouted. There was no way he would let Mo Tianji go. There was no chance at all. We're willing to pay the price. Think about it carefully. Mo Zhantian retreated as he spoke. Mo Zhantian, we, Night Sorrow, will remember the grudge of 3 slashes today. Night Sorrow shouted at Mo Zhantian's back. After Mo Zhantian left, Night Sorrow cupped his hands towards the Heavenly Astral King and Huang Ling. Thank you for your help. Don't mention it. We discovered it too late and caused you to be injured. The Heavenly Astral King said. Chapter 21:17. Night Sorrow didn't have time to deal with the aftermath. He had 2 things on his mind right now. The first was to heal his clone, and the second was to deal with Mo Tianji. As for the damaged blood shield and evil slaying spear that he had thrown out and then retrieved, Yishan planned to repair it later. After returning to the mansion, Night Sorrow glanced at Jun Xuanji, who was still in the mansion. Then, he turned to Ji Dao and said, I won't see anyone for a while. After saying that, Night Sorrow released the Clear Sky Pagoda. His clone came out from his main body and entered the Clear Sky Pagoda, holding his broken right hand with his left hand. You're injured? Seeing Night Sorrow's clone disappear, Jun Xuanji's eyes were filled with worry. It's fine. I've captured Mo Tianji. This time, I'll deal with her once and for all. Night Sorrow nodded. I'll go see her and tell her that Mo Tianji's era is over. From now on, this soul belongs to Jun Xuanji, Jun Xuanji said. It's best if you don't interact with her. It won't do you any good. Night Sorrow shook his head. I'm cultivating the emotional Tao now. My Tao heart is firm, so it's fine. Jun Xuanji said. There's really no need. I'll go in and kill her. Night Sorrow shook his head. Night Sorrow, have you ever thought about subduing her? If you can completely subdue her and let her return to her main body, wouldn't our Chaos Realm have another super expert? Jun Xuanji suggested. It's a good idea, but you should know that Mo Tianji isn't someone to be trifled with. It's very difficult to subdue her. It's almost impossible, Night Sorrow said. I'm willing to deal with her with you. The main reason is that killing her doesn't seem to be good for me. Our souls come from the same place. She's the main body. If she dies, I really don't know how it'll hurt me, Jun Xuanji said in a low voice. Then what should we do? Night Sorrow was stunned for a moment. He really didn't know that there would be such repercussions. Because of what happened a while ago, my Tao heart has stabilized. Later, I'll ask the Grand Elder to undo the seal on my soul. I'll influence her soul. You can think of other ways to make her swear an oath to the Tao of Heaven to acknowledge allegiance to you. When her soul is no longer autonomous and noble, then the heavenly Tao will judge that she has lost her dominant position, and I will be the dominant soul, Jun Xuanji said. Night Sorrow didn't say anything and only nodded. Since Jun Xuanji had said so, he couldn't directly destroy Mo Tianji's soul. Also, he knew what Jun Xuanji was talking about. Jun Xuanji left to meet the Grand Elder. She hoped that the Grand Elder could undo the seal on her soul. Not long after, the Grand Elder and Jun Xuanji arrived at Night Sorrow's small courtyard. He respected Night Sorrow's opinion on some matters. Whether Jun Xuanji was reliable or not depended on Night Sorrow. When the Grand Elder arrived, Night Sorrow understood what was going on. No one knew better than Night Sorrow whether Jun Xuanji was reliable or not. After pouring a cup of water for the Grand Elder, Night Sorrow nodded. Grand Elder, please don't worry. If I, Jun Xuanji, betray the 9-domain world and Night Sorrow, I will be destroyed by the heavens and earth. Jun Xuanji waved his hand and made an oath. Who was she? She was a smart person and naturally knew the meaning of the Grand Elder's arrival. Haha. As the Humanitarian League's general manager, the 9-domain world is still the most important. Your alliance chief is the most important. The Grand Elder smiled. He knew that Jun Xuanji's oath was very meaningful. Grand Elder, please forgive me. Our 9-domain world is the most harmonious. As long as Night Sorrow is here, it will always be harmonious. However, the 100-race alliance is different. Grand Elder, you should understand this, Jun Xuanji said. The Grand Elder smiled. I understand your concerns, but you don't have to worry about them in the future. The Enforcer Elder's position in the 100-race alliance's Elder Council is very high. Who can touch the young city lord of the divine capital and Tianhuang city? Who can say anything about the human emperor of the human race? Jun Xuanji smiled and nodded. She also knew this. She just left a way out for herself. Seeing that Night Sorrow said that there was no problem, the Grand Elder undid the seal on Jun Xuanji's soul. After the seal was undone, Jun Xuanji's expression changed. Her soul had been impacted by Mo Tianji's true body's soul consciousness. When Jun Xuanji had become an emperor, her soul had been impacted. However, that was the memory of fate. Now, she was affected by Mo Tianji's true body's soul. Jun Xuanji had been impacted, but so had Mo Tianji. At this moment, Mo Tianji's soul within the human emperor's seal space held her head with both hands and cursed. The moment Jun Xuanji undid the seal on her soul, she knew everything. She knew that her soul's reincarnation had given herself to Night Sorrow. Her Tao heart was on the opposite end of the spectrum. Grand Elder, I won't accompany you anymore. I'll go deal with that fellow. She will never become a scourge in the future. Night Sorrow cupped his fists at the Grand Elder. Putting down the teacup in his hand, the Grand Elder stood up and said, dealing with Mo Tianji is a big matter. Go do what you need to do. If there's anything, come find me. Mo Tianji has snuck into Tianhuang City. This matter needs to be investigated and dealt with. After sending off the Grand Elder, Night Sorrow looked at Jun Xuanji. His soul power wrapped around Jun Xuanji and brought him into the human emperor's seal space. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. At this moment, in a corner of the human emperor's seal space, Mo Tianji's soul was trapped in a barrier formed by the fire of virtue. Mo Tianji's soul was constantly bumping into the barrier. However, every time, she would be bounced back by the fire of virtue and let out a miserable cry. You adulterous couple. I'll definitely kill you. Seeing Night Sorrow and Jun Xuanji enter the human emperor's seal space, Mo Tianji cursed loudly. This was different from before. In the past, Mo Tianji did not speak much. If she could fight, she would not make a sound. However, she was now somewhat hysterical. Stop shouting. Who's the adulterous couple? Are you talking about yourself? Jun Xuanji held Night Sorrow's arm and leaned on Night Sorrow's body. You're shameless. You should know that we are the pride of the Devil-Winged clan. You've fallen into depravity and forgotten your past glory, Mo Tianji cursed at Jun Xuanji. She found that she had completely lost control over her reincarnated body. Now, her reincarnated body's soul was in charge. Moreover, it had a different standpoint and Tao heart from her. Shut up. I'm Jun Xuanji, from the 9 Domains world. I fight for the 9 Domains world. The past is the past. It belongs to you, Mo Tianji, not me. I came to see you today to talk to you about some things. You don't need to shout at me. First, Night Sorrow won't kill you, but you can kill yourself. Second, if he doesn't kill you, he won't let you live well. He'll torture you every day until you kill yourself. Do you understand? Jun Xuanji glared at Mo Tianji. Chapter 21:18. This reincarnation cycle had entered the 9th era, and Mo Tianji had lived for 9 eras. She could see through everything. As soon as Jun Xuanji spoke, she knew Jun Xuanji's intention and goal. His goal was to occupy the dominant position in the soul. Don't even think about it. You're smart like me, so you know it very well. You just don't want to face it. Do you think you have the ability to resist? Heaven Wasteland Domain has entered the last reincarnation cycle, the last era. The world's fate has run out, and you don't have any fate on you. You're trapped in the space inside the human emperor's seal. Do you think you have a chance to escape? Can you withstand the endless cycle of reincarnation? Jun Xuanji smiled and asked a series of rhetorical questions. Even if I can't, I will. Until someone saves me, until you kill me. Mo Tianji's soul glared at Night Sorrow and Mo Tianji. If looks could kill, Night Sorrow and Jun Xuanji would have been riddled with holes. No one can save you. After this conversation, I'll send you to the 9 Domain world to be suppressed. You know the 9 Domain world situation. Those with higher cultivation than me can't enter, but what can those with lower cultivation do? Do you think they can save you from me, the Realm Lord? Impossible. Night Sorrow shook his head. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Mo Tianji didn't say anything. She just stared at Jun Xuanji. She knew that Night Sorrow was telling the truth. You can't take it. Kill yourself. That way, you'll have more dignity. Jun Xuanji laughed. Lowly slave, can't you live a bit more arrogantly? Must you crawl under men? They're all trash. Mo Tianji looked at Jun Xuanji and cursed. Jun Xuanji laughed and hugged Night Sorrow. He kissed Night Sorrow's cheek and said, You've lived for 9 eras, but you don't know how good men are. You don't even know about the matters between men and women. Haha. Night Sorrow wanted to move away, but he received Jun Xuanji's soul transmission. He had to cooperate. I can't wait to strangle you. Mo Tianji's body shook and her expression changed. Her soul had been attacked. What Jun Xuanji was seeing wasn't enough. Jun Xuanji had also sent the memories of him and Yishang to Mo Tianji's soul. It's useless. You don't have a chance. Night Sorrow, the human emperor's seal is a holy relic and cannot be desecrated. Let's find a place and show her the things between men and women that she doesn't know. Perhaps she'll be willing to commit suicide, Jun Xuanji said. Night Sorrow nodded, feeling both admiration and speechlessness towards Jun Xuanji. From the beginning to the end, he had never mentioned anything about making Mo Tianji submit. Instead, he had made Mo Tianji commit suicide to destroy Mo Tianji's confidence. Other than that, his methods were also extremely vile. Mo Tianji pointed at Jun Xuanji and wanted to curse, but she didn't. She understood that Jun Xuanji's personality was the same as hers. They were both decisive people who only cared about their goals. Night Sorrow, the body suppressed by the 9 Domain world is also mine. You promised the devil-winged clan that you wouldn't desecrate it, but returning it to me isn't considered desecration. She and I share the same soul. This is recognized by the heavenly Tao. Jun Xuanji looked at Night Sorrow. I haven't thought about this, but you're right, Night Sorrow nodded after thinking about it. Despicable and shameless. That's the body I cultivated for 8 eras. Jun Xuanji, are you going to take it from me just like that? Hearing Jun Xuanji's words, Mo Tianji became anxious. If Jun Xuanji used that body, she wouldn't be able to take it back because that body was compatible with Jun Xuanji. Night Sorrow, can you teach me the triple origin doppelganger that you cultivated? I'll use her body first, then you can use the virtuous fire to slowly roast her until she commits suicide. You don't have to bother with her in the future. Jun Xuanji didn't reply to Mo Tianji. First 5 shots % are, Night Sorrow, state your conditions. I can give you anything she can give you. You can have any treasure you want, or however many Saint Spirit stones you want. Just say the word. Mo Tianji ignored Jun Xuanji. She knew that Jun Xuanji was determined to kill her. Rather than using Jun Xuanji, she might as well use Night Sorrow. You can't give me what she can. She wholeheartedly cares about the 9-domain world and wholeheartedly fights for the 9-domain world. Can you do that? That's why I'm willing to do my best to help her rise. Don't say that I'm cruel to Night Sorrow. There's an irreconcilable hatred between us. My master, Yan Wushuang, also died because of you. So even if it's a little extreme, I still have to do it. Don't resent me. Night Sorrow shook his head at Mo Tianji. Yan Wushuang. How can you pin Yan Wushuang's death on me? That bastard failed his tribulation and went to the infinite wasteland to start a massacre in the demon imperial city. He killed several batches of elites from the demon wing clan. In the end, he set up a formation in the infinite wasteland mountain to ambush me. It's also because of him that I'm in such a bad situation today. Who do you think should take revenge? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Mo Tianji's emotions became unstable again. Even if you're right, it won't change anything. But as one of the 3 grand heavens of the Demon Wing clan, you should know that we're on different sides. I'm not going overboard. Let's go, Xuanji. Night Sorrow exhaled. You don't want to talk anymore? Jun Xuanji looked at Night Sorrow. She was a little surprised. Their goal today was to subdue Mo Tianji, but Night Sorrow wanted to leave after just 1 sentence. Let's not talk about it anymore. There's no need to hide it from her. Originally, I supported your idea of making her submit and work for the 9 domains world. Then, I'll give her her original body. But now, I've changed my mind. Since you can use that body, there's no need to talk about it. Let the fire of virtue trap her and let her live and die on her own. She can commit suicide whenever she wants. Night Sorrow waved his hand and the human Tao's sacred scripture, Tao Te Ching, appeared. The golden runes added to the fire of virtue, making it even more exuberant. Jun Xuanji was very surprised, but he could understand Night Sorrow's decision. As for Mo Tianji, she was shocked. She knew that Night Sorrow was the human sovereign of the human race, the virtuous monarch. He wouldn't say things that were inappropriate, but what he said was definitely the truth. There was no lie in it. Night Sorrow really didn't want to give her a chance. Looking at Mo Tianji, Yi Shang's arm shook as he punched out, causing Mo Tianji's soul to become unstable. Then, he grabbed the spatial treasure in Mo Tianji's finger with his right hand. Mo Tianji's soul body shook for a while before stabilizing. She didn't curse anymore because it was meaningless. We don't judge a hero by victory or defeat. I, Night Sorrow, acknowledge your past achievements. I hope that you can maintain your dignity and dominance in the final stage. After this matter is resolved, I will erect a cenotaph for you at the place where we fought on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, Night Sorrow said, and returned to the real world with Jun Xuanji. Night Sorrow, why did you change the plan? Jun Xuanji looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Because the plan now doesn't require too much effort, Night Sorrow said. Chapter 21:19. So that's how it is. Then let's just torture her for a while, Night Sorrow said. You really put on a show just now. Because you really wanted to kill her, there was nothing fake about it. She'll take it for real, Jun Xuanji said. To be honest, I didn't want to humiliate her. No matter what, she's still a powerful cultivator. Besides, Master Wushuang's revenge can't be blamed on her, Night Sorrow said. That's true. Wushuang's sword monarch went to fight after failing his tribulation. Later on, he scattered his soul. Jun Xuanji nodded. She agreed with Night Sorrow's point of view. Inside the space of the human emperor's seal, the fire of merit strengthened by the scriptures of the human emperor's seal was very strong. However, the white-haired Imo Tianji seemed to be fine. The pain in her heart wasn't because of the fire of merit, but because she couldn't accept her defeat. Who did she lose to? She lost to reality and herself. Her reincarnated body merged with reality and defeated herself with reality. Imo Tianji wasn't afraid of death. She just couldn't accept it. She couldn't accept being trapped in this world like this. Besides, if Night Sorrow didn't take care of her, she wouldn't have much time left. Her 8th Emperor tribulation was coming. Night Sorrow's clone was healing in the time acceleration. After a cultivator entered the Saint Realm, they could regrow their limbs. However, Night Sorrow's body was very strong. He needed a lot of energy and resources to recover from his injuries. Night Sorrow's blood chill and evil-slaying spear was only fine at the tip of the spear. The rest of the spear was cracked. It couldn't withstand Imo Zhantian's attack. 0. Yishang organized his materials and realized that he was still lacking a little, so he asked his wives about it. Jun Xuanji asked for some in the Humanitarian League. Night Sorrow's request wasn't complicated, but it was rare. He wanted materials with strong void attribute. His reincarnation halberd was close to the destruction attribute and was very compatible with the reincarnation taboo attribute. However, he didn't have a beginning attribute weapon yet. He couldn't fully unleash his combat power. After learning of Night Sorrow's needs, Pu Luo sent some materials to Night Sorrow. He was the leader of an old force, so he had a relatively deep foundation. Since he was already an Emperor rank weapon forger, Night Sorrow had no problem refining weapons. Also, if he wanted to forge his own weapon, Night Sorrow would be the most suitable. Within the 8 Dragon Cauldron, time was accelerated. Night Sorrow had spent more than half a year refining the spear. The spear tip was still the Blood Kirin's tailbone, and the spear's shaft was made of top-notch materials such as nothingness, space-time, and life. It was most suitable for the beginning's attack. Night Sorrow had just exited the 8 Dragon Cauldron when he felt the human emperor's seal vibrate. Imo Tianji was looking for him. Carrying the new gun, Night Sorrow entered the inner space of the human emperor's seal. You were looking for me? Night Sorrow asked as he tried out the new gun. That's right, I'm looking for you. I want to live. Tell me, what do I need to do? Imo Tianji looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Night Sorrow's gaze moved from the Blood Kirin evil-slaying spear to Imo Tianji. He was surprised. Yes, I want to live. Tell me what I need to do. Don't think I'm a spineless person. If it were any other time, I wouldn't commit suicide or submit even if I had to carry it for thousands or even millions of years. However, I don't have time because the 8th Emperor trial is coming soon, said Imo Tianji. I don't think you're a spineless person. I just didn't expect things to change so quickly. Then, I'll tell you what I need. I don't want you to be a threat anymore. You're one of the giants of the Devil Wing race. Your influence is too great and you're a variable. I don't want this variable to exist. This is also the reason why I must force you to commit suicide, said Night Sorrow. I promise not to participate in the war between the Devil Wing race and the Celestial Realm. Is that okay? Said Imo Tianji. No. Since you want to live, let's talk. Humans have a saying called, a slim chance of survival. It means that nothing is absolute. To respect the heavenly Tao, I can't cut off your slim chance of survival. Now, I'll tell you what I need. Remember, you don't have the chance to bargain. Night Sorrow looked at Imo Tianji and said. Tell me. Imo Tianji nodded. Night Sorrow had already decided to let her die and let her perish on her own. She knew this, so she understood that it would be very difficult to change Night Sorrow's mind. Swear to the heavenly Tao and submit. You must listen to my orders unconditionally. Don't get too excited. As the virtuous emperor, I promise that after you submit, I won't trample on your dignity. In the future, other than obeying orders, you can be a cultivator who strives to reach the peak of cultivation, Night Sorrow said. You said that I don't have the right to bargain, but there are some things that I still have to say. Mo Tianji looked at Night Sorrow. That's fine. Say it. Whether you agree to it or not is another matter. I'll give you a chance to speak. Night Sorrow nodded at Mo Tianji. As the holy ancestor of the reincarnation of the Demon Wing clan, I can't slaughter the people of the Demon Wing clan. Secondly, I can listen to your orders, but you can't let that bitch humiliate me. Everything about me has nothing to do with her. Before I swear to the heavenly Tao, I'm willing to cut off all ties with her, including the karma of fate. Also, as you said, you won't trample on my dignity, Mo Tianji said. I'm satisfied that you didn't ask for anything. I can agree to the other two conditions, but not the first one. However, I'll take a step back. I won't let you fight in the Demon Wing clan's war in the Celestial Realm. However, if they attack the 9-domain world, or if I, Night Sorrow, have a war with other worlds or races, you have to fight. Your existence has to follow my wishes. Otherwise, your existence is meaningless to me. This conversation has lost its fundamental meaning. Do you understand? Night Sorrow said. Deal. The Demon Wing clan will no longer have Mo Tianji. Then, does your promise to erect a cenotaph at the Nirvana Ocean Bridge still count? Mo Tianji asked. Yes, then swear to the heavenly Tao first. Night Sorrow said. The human emperor's seal vibrated, and the virtuous fire wrapped around Mo Tianji appeared in the hall of the mansion. I, Mo Tianji, swear. Mo Tianji raised her arm. Can you swear an oath of allegiance while standing? Yi Shang wasn't willing. I almost forgot something. Can you return my weapon to me first? Mo Tianji looked at Night Sorrow and said. Night Sorrow threw Mo Tianji's storage ring back to her. He hadn't refined it yet, and he had been busy recently. Mo Tianji opened the storage ring and took out a long sword. Although it looked like her soul body was holding it, it was actually supported by her soul power. Fate above, I, Mo Tianji, am willing to give up everything in the past, including my previous life, reincarnation, and the karma of this life. Slash, slash, slash. Mo Tianji's long sword burst with light, and then she slashed the void 3 times. Night Sorrow's eyes twitched. He knew that the 3 slashes of the void had a great meaning. It was to sever the karma of the previous life, reincarnation, and the current life. Ordinary people couldn't do it. Chapter 21:20. Do you really not know, or are you faking it? The heavenly law oath is judged by the heavenly law and the world's origin. Who can change it? Mo Tianji asked. Then let's begin. Night Sorrow said. At this moment, Jun Xuanji appeared. Seeing this, she naturally understood what was going on. I didn't think that you would still compromise, Jun Xuanji smiled. Jun Xuanji, you're dreaming if you want to overturn the situation. You're smiling because you think that your soul and personality are superior to mine, right? Looking at Jun Xuanji, Mo Tianji smiled disdainfully. She then turned to face Night Sorrow and raised her hand above her head to swear the heavenly law oath. Night Sorrow closed his eyes and sensed. He found that Mo Tianji's soul had indeed gained some special power. Alright, let's return to the 9-domain world and swear the heavenly law oath again. Then, everything will be over and you will start a new life. Night Sorrow nodded to Mo Tianji. Mo Tianji stood up. She could only follow Night Sorrow's request. If she disobeyed Night Sorrow's orders, she would have violated the heavenly law oath. After sending Mo Tianji back into the human emperor's seal, Night Sorrow nodded to Jun Xuanji and left the residence. He was going to return to the 9-domain world. Looking at Night Sorrow's back, Jun Xuanji cursed inwardly. His original plan was that even if Mo Tianji did not die, she would be reduced from being the leader to a subordinate. However, Mo Tianji's Fate 3 decapitations had severed all of this. In the future, he would no longer be Mo Tianji's subordinate. Actually, Mo Tianji also thought the same. She did not want to become Jun Xuanji's subordinate. Fate and karma have been severed, but some feelings will still remain. Mo Tianji, you called me a bitch. You'll see, Jun Xuanji waved his arm. Night Sorrow took the teleportation array to the 9-domain world and went to the Sky Sealing Palace. After sending Mo Tianji out of the human emperor's seal space, Night Sorrow looked up at the sky. This is the 9-domain world. It's a supreme world in the future. It's the most important place to me. I need to swear the heavenly law oath again. Mo Tianji naturally understood. She also knew that Night Sorrow did not completely trust her. Although the human emperor's fire of virtue did not burn her, it was still trapping her. She had no choice but to kneel down and swear the heavenly law oath. The 9 regions' origins power had also merged with Mo Tianji's soul. This meant that if she went against the heavenly Tao oath, the 9 regions' origin would destroy her soul. Usually, the world's origin would not attack a cultivator for no reason. However, it was different after swearing an oath to the heavenly Tao. Seeing Mo Tianji swear the heavenly Tao oath, Night Sorrow took back the human emperor's seal's fire of virtue and summoned the 9 region origin body. Venerable, take her to the heaven's sealing grand palace and let her merge with my true body. Do whatever she needs. Mo Tianji, it's not appropriate for you to go to the celestial realm alone. If you need anything, just shout from the heaven's sealing grand palace and I'll be there. You can merge with my true body first, said Night Sorrow. Mo Tianji bowed towards Night Sorrow. She knew that the moment she made the heavenly oath, she had bid farewell to her past. Mo Tianji, one of the 3 grand heavens of the evil winged clan, was already dead. She was only alive because she wanted to reach the peak of the Grand Tao. Night Sorrow left the 9-domain world. His heart was at ease. Mo Tianji's problem was solved. She wouldn't be able to cause any more trouble. As long as Mo Tianji dared to violate the heavenly Tao oath, she would be turned into ashes in an instant. In addition, Night Sorrow also knew that Mo Tianji, who had lived for 9 eras, was a smart person. She was different from other hotheads. First release. After returning to the mansion in the heavenly desolate city, Night Sorrow and Jun Xuanji sat facing each other. Jun Xuanji was a little embarrassed. What happened a few days ago was not clear to Jun Xuanji, but she remembered it clearly. Mo Tianji swore an oath to the heavenly way. She won't harm you, the 9 zones world, or the celestial realm. You can say that the problem has been solved, Night Sorrow said. Yes. Now that you've solved a huge problem for the celestial realm, you should be rewarded with a lot of power of virtue, right? Jun Xuanji asked. You've improved quite a bit. Don't change the topic. How are you going to deal with that? Night Sorrow asked Jun Xuanji. Night Sorrow, you're thinking too much. Do you think I have to marry you just because I did it with you once? You're too conservative. I've never thought about this. I don't want to be restricted. In the future, I'll be me, and you'll be you. If you want to, you can ask me out. I'll satisfy you. When I'm in a good mood, I might ask you out. What do you think? Jun Xuanji said with a smile. Nonsense. Night Sorrow glared at Jun Xuanji. I'm not fooling around. I don't want to be restricted by my family, and I don't want to live like that. I'll think about it later. Also, I'll keep myself clean. With such a promise, you won't feel bad, right? Jun Xuanji said. Night Sorrow got up and left. He didn't know what else to say. There were 2 sides to the story, and he couldn't feel good about himself. From the root of this matter, Jun Xuanji liked him a little. However, she wanted to be with him to solve the problem of her Tao heart. He strongly emphasized that it wasn't appropriate to solve anything else. Seeing Night Sorrow leave, Jun Xuanji smiled. He felt pretty good because things weren't too bad. He didn't need to face Lin Piaomiao and the others. After Night Sorrow left, Zhu Jiuyun arrived. Xuanji, the domain lord, didn't get angry, right? He wanted to get angry, but he's not the kind of person who would just wipe his mouth after eating. So, you know the result. Jun Xuanji was in a good mood. All right. Xuanji, you're the big winner this time, Zhu Jiuyun said with a smile. Speaking of which, I really need to apologize to Night Sorrow. My personality and way of doing things were indeed influenced by Mo Tianji. Jun Xuanji said. Zhu Jiuyun nodded. She hoped that the people from the 9 domains world would be harmonious. She didn't want any problems to happen. Jun Xuanji was indeed a little lawless recently. Night Sorrow arrived at the gate of Nirvana City. The Heaven Wasteland army at the gate of Nirvana City bowed to greet him. They truly admired Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was able to fight against the 3 great heavens of the Demon Wing clan and capture one of them. This was courage and ability. After nodding to the Heaven Wasteland army, Night Sorrow went to the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. He went to the area where he and Mo Tianji fought. Night Sorrow stretched out his right hand and grabbed a protruding, hard rock near the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. Then, he stuck it on the side of the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. What is this guy doing? Huang Ling, who was standing on top of the gate of Nirvana City, looked at her husband. How would I know? Who can understand his world? The heavenly astral monarch shook his head. Night Sorrow took out the Samsara heavenly halberd and began to carve words. Chapter 21-21. As Night Sorrow's arm shook, lines of words appeared on the stone. Yi Shang gave an objective evaluation of Mo Tianji and wrote down the time of her death. Then, he engraved his name. Yi Shang of the human race respectfully stood there. After the inscription was done, the cultivators on the Nirvana gate knew that Yi Shang had taken care of Mo Tianji. As Yi Shang finished the inscription, a crack appeared on Mo Tianji's statue in the sacrificial tower of the demonic imperial city. It had lost its usual charm. The Demon Wing clan elder guarding the sacrificial tower quickly reported this to Mo Zhantian. When he arrived at the sacrificial tower and saw Mo Tianji's statue, Mo Zhantian looked up and sighed. He knew that something had happened to Mo Tianji. The crack on the statue was a result of karma. Smo Zhantian also saw Night Sorrow use the Samsara halberd to shatter Mo Tianji's body and use the fire of virtue to trap her. Logically speaking, the Celestial Realm's 100 Races Alliance would not let Mo Tianji live. Although Mo Zhantian already had a premonition in his heart, he still received quite a shock when he confirmed the news. Mo Tianji had died in the 7th era. They had known each other for 7 eras. As the 3 greatest heavens of the Demon Wing clan, they had a very deep relationship. In the previous 7 eras, Mo Tianji was the leader of the 3 greatest heavens. Shaking his head helplessly, Mo Zhantian left the sacrificial tower. He knew that the Demon Wing clan had lost a huge helper in the battle against the Celestial Realm. The battle between the Celestial Realm's 100 Races Alliance and the Demon Wing clan had ended. Because Mo Zhantian had broken the rules, the Demon Wing clan did not dare to come to the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. The 100 Races Alliance would not hold back anymore. If they saw any Demon Wing clan members again, they would kill them immediately. There was no such thing as a gentleman's agreement. Unable to change the situation, Mo Zhantian could only wait for Mo Yutian to come out of seclusion. He was not strong enough to face the Celestial Realm's 100 Races Alliance head-on. Night Sorrow left his main body on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge and released the Clear Sky Pagoda to continue cultivating. His avatar returned to the heavenly desolate city. Arriving at the top of Nirvana City's gate, Night Sorrow cupped his hands towards the heavenly astral king and Huang Ling. Thank you, both of you. If it weren't for your timely assistance, my clone would have been destroyed. Night Sorrow will remember this favor. Your Majesty, you think too much. You are fighting for the 100 races of the celestial realm. This is not a personal matter. Besides, you can choose to fight regardless of life and death. All the members of the celestial realm should help you. Everyone should support you, said the heavenly astral king. If we're talking about favors, then it's the Ice Phoenix race that owes you. You're the one who took care of concubine Ling for us and helped our matriarch grow up smoothly. This is a huge favor. Besides, you have a good relationship with concubine Ling. You are like family. You don't have to be polite with us, Huang Ling said. Then Night Sorrow won't mention this anymore. Let's talk more in the future. Night Sorrow smiled and left. So young. Huang Ling muttered as she watched Night Sorrow leave. He's really bold and capable. Who can compare to a 1,000-year-old Second Emperor Tribulation cultivator? He's destined to be a legend. The heavenly astral king was also very emotional. The young people of this era are very powerful. The group of people who first followed Night Sorrow in the 9 regions world are now all accomplished. Those who are familiar with Night Sorrow in the celestial realm are also rising rapidly. Look at the Humanitarian League, Lu Qi appeared and said after looking at the few people from the Humanitarian League stationed at the gate of Nirvana City. In fact, this was indeed the case. After the few elders of the Humanitarian League met Night Sorrow, they began to rise rapidly. Pu Luo was already at the peak of the 3rd Emperor Tribulation and could enter the 4th Emperor Tribulation at any time. In the 100 Races Alliance, aside from a limited number of people, he was a cultivator who stood at the top. Ruisi and Yu Zhu used to be Emperor Tribulation cultivators. Now, they had broken through to the 2nd Emperor Tribulation. Lin Piaomiao and the Great Demon Lord were also at this level. Fen Tian was also preparing to break through to the 1st Emperor Tribulation. Of course, the main reason was that everyone had a deep foundation in the past. However, after meeting Night Sorrow, their smooth journey also had a lot to do with it. Of course, breaking through to the Emperor Tribulation meant giving up the lifespan between the current and the Emperor Tribulation. For example, if one's lifespan was less than 1 era, breaking through to the 3rd Emperor Tribulation meant giving up more than 2 eras of lifespan. In addition, the members of the First Army had also improved quite well. Of course, the ones who improved the most were Night Sorrow's family. They were Night Sorrow's wife and daughter, as well as the God-slaying team. The speed of their improvement was unparalleled. If it wasn't for the comparison between the cultivators produced in the past 1,000 years, any one of them would be an outstanding talent of an era. The replacement of the old Supreme World and the new Supreme World is a great era. In addition, the birth of the human emperor will also lead a trend of reincarnation. The most important thing is that they are hardworking enough. Everyone around Night Sorrow has a thriving spirit. They don't even care about their lifespan. How can they not achieve anything? No one has done this in the past. Only Night Sorrow and a few people from the human Tao sect dared to do this. Lu Qi was a little emotional because he suppressed his cultivation and didn't take the initiative to break through to the tribulation. 7th Elder's words make sense. No matter how outstanding they are, no one can deny their hard work. Let's not talk about others. Just look at Night Sorrow's path of rise. He fought and killed his way out. Without great courage and perseverance, no one can be envious and jealous of him. The heavenly astral king nodded. To be honest, I feel sorry for this group of children. Really, their efforts and desperation are very distressing. We also see hope from them. Huang Ling was a woman. Her feelings were different from Lu Qi's and the heavenly astral kings. Pu Luo, Great Demon King, this era is an era where the 100 Races Alliance of the Celestial Realm will fight. If we win, the creatures of the Celestial Realm will remember you and your sacrifice of your lifespan. Lu Qi looked at Pu Luo and the Great Demon King who were guarding the city gate and said, 7th Elder, before we met our Alliance Master, we indeed wouldn't be so radical. However, after seeing our Alliance Master fearlessly attack the taboo attribute despite knowing that he only has 1 era to fight, we, the Humanitarian League, have no reason to shrink back. If we live, we have to live brilliantly. Living a mediocre life is nothing compared to living a few more eras, Pu Luo said with a smile. Lu Qi smiled at Pu Luo. In the 100 Races Alliance's Elder Council, there are many law enforcement elders and even more ordinary elders. However, no one lives more freely than you. No one lives more freely than you. Everyone is either concerned about their reputation or the rules. They all live in a square box. However, you do things according to your heart. This is something that others can't learn. Hee hee. Pu Luo, it's a complete anomaly that you can become a law enforcement elder. Perhaps it's because of your sunshine and freedom. However, it's really quite infectious. Ruisi and Yuzhu, who are by your side, also live more freely than others, Huang Ling said with a smile. She had known Pu Luo for a long time. Chapter 21-22. Hearing Pu Luo's words, everyone looked toward the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. That was where Night Sorrow and his brothers had left their glorious footprints. Night Sorrow stopped outside the mansion. Go in? If he went in and spent all his time with Jun Xuanji, he would feel that it was inappropriate. However, if he didn't go in, he wouldn't be able to return to the mansion in the future. Just as he was hesitating, Zhu Jiuyun appeared. Sir, what are you thinking about? Zhu Jiuyun greeted him. Nothing much. Night Sorrow shook his head. Naturally, he didn't want anyone to know about his relationship with Jun Xuanji. However, he didn't expect Zhu Jiuyun to know about it so well. Zhu Jiuyun smiled. Xuanji said that Imo Tianji's problem has been solved, so she won't be staying in Heaven Wasteland City. The elders of the Humanitarian League are not doing anything. She has already gone to Divine Capital to deal with the Humanitarian League's matters. Zhu Jiuyun said. She told Night Sorrow that Jun Xuanji wasn't around to dispel his worries. She naturally knew the knack of it. Night Sorrow nodded and entered the mansion. His wives weren't around either. A few of them were at the gate of Nirvana City, while the rest were at Reincarnation Island. After returning to the mansion, Night Sorrow adapted to his new spear. It was much stronger than the Blood Qilin evil-slaying spear. The tip of the spear was still the same as the tailbone of the Blood Qilin evil-slaying spear. However, the material of the spear's shaft had changed. It was tougher and more suitable for his use. After familiarizing himself with the new spear, Night Sorrow took the teleportation formation to Reincarnation Island. The 4 commanders of the Heaven Wasteland Army were all there. He couldn't just ignore them. After understanding the situation and checking on the cultivation of the formation, Night Sorrow and the Golden Dragon King drank a few jars of wine. Alright, go do what you need to do. This king will help you keep watch here. The Demon-Winged clan won't attack. Even if they do, they won't be able to defeat them, the Golden Dragon King said. Night Sorrow left behind 2 jars of wine for the Golden Dragon King before leaving. Since his wives were not around, Night Sorrow left Reincarnation Island and returned to his home in the Night Moon Villa of the Ethereal Dynasty. When he reached home, Night Sorrow was stunned for a moment because his family was there. It was rare for his family to be reunited, so Night Sorrow accompanied his family. He also left some resources for Hong Yi and Lan Ning, who were in charge of the mansion. The 2 of them helped Night Sorrow manage the mansion and some of the Yi family's businesses. It wasn't easy for them. Night Sorrow also talked to Shiryu alone. Mo Tianji's problem had been solved, and Shiryu no longer needed to stay here. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Shiryu nodded. With young city lord's cultivation, no one can mess around. I'll go back now. Thank you, Uncle Shiryu. You've worked hard. Night Sorrow respected Shiryu very much. She was the personal servant of his martial king. Seeing that his family was busy, Night Sorrow said that he would be back at night and went to Starmoon City. When they arrived at Starmoon City, Yishan chatted with Lu Qi and thanked him for taking care of Starmoon City. With Mo Tianji's problem solved, not only Night Moon Villa, but also Starmoon City's crisis. Lu Qi left. In the past, he really didn't dare to leave. Mo Tianji's existence was too big of a threat. Now that the crisis was solved, he didn't need to stay here. After sending Lu Qi off, Yi Shang drank a cup of tea with his master, Emperor Qing, his master's wife, and his senior sister, Qing Wan. Only then did he return to the Yeyue villa in the ethereal imperial city. New Chapter 1, Section 6, above/E. As for Mo Tianji in the 9-domain world, Night Sorrow's 9-domain doppelganger had been paying attention to her. Currently, Mo Tianji's soul and body were fusing. Night Sorrow wasn't sure if it was successful or not. After Mo Tianji's soul entered the main body, there was no news about her. Night Sorrow knew that when Mo Tianji's soul and body finished fusing, her cultivation would increase exponentially. Even if she didn't return to her peak state, it wouldn't be too far off. Mo Tianji's soul realm was high. When she tried to take over someone else's body, she would have to cultivate from scratch. She would have to cultivate the energy in her body. However, her main body didn't need it. The dantian and meridians in her main body were at their peak state. She might lack energy, but what she lacked wasn't the foundation. What she lacked was consumable energy. As long as there were resources, she would be able to replenish it quickly. Yi Shang told his family about Mo Tianji's matter and also told them about his plans. Night Sorrow didn't plan on letting Mo Tianji participate in the war between the 100 Race Alliance and the Devil Wing clan in the Celestial Realm. No matter what, Mo Tianji was the sacred ancestor of the Devil Wing clan. It wasn't appropriate for her to slaughter the Devil Wing clan's people. He couldn't force her. Night Sorrow planned on letting Mo Tianji become the protector of the 9-domain world. In other words, if there was a war in the 9-domain world, she would have to participate. No one in the Yi family objected to subduing Mo Tianji. In the 9-domain world and the primal chaos realm, the Yi family was famous for being magnanimous. They weren't bloodthirsty or warlike. Son, Mo Tianji is a wild woman. You have to be careful. Don't be tricked by her, and don't be tempted by her. Also, she owes Jiuyun. When she recovers, you have to bring her to Jiuyun and give him an explanation, Yu Qing said. Mother is right. Jiuyun is from the 9-domain world. She has invested a lot in controlling the Nether Realm and stabilizing the 9-domain world. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that this matter had to be dealt with. Zhu Jiuyun didn't say anything, but she definitely held a grudge. After all, Mo Tianji had taken over her avatar, which was equivalent to taking her life. The Yi family's banquet was held at a large round table. Everyone who should be at the table was present. Son, I hope that our family will have more children, but that's enough, Yu Qing, who hadn't cared about Night Sorrow, said during the meal. Mother, don't worry. Your son will be disciplined. Night Sorrow stood up and bowed to his parents. Then, he cupped his hands to his wives with an apologetic look in his eyes. Night Sorrow, what are you doing? Sikong Chuyu, who was closest to Night Sorrow, grabbed Night Sorrow's arm. I've said it before. I didn't let down everyone in the world. However, I didn't do my duty to the family and to you, Night Sorrow said. Sit down. Everyone knows about you. Datura smiled. She understood Night Sorrow because she and Night Sorrow were forced to do something beyond their abilities. Nianxiao, what's the situation with you? After sitting down, Night Sorrow looked at Yi Nianxiao. Brother, I'll make the best use of my time. Let me have a quiet meal today. Yi Nianxiao stood up and poured a cup of wine for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow smiled and didn't say anything. He believed that Yi Nianxiao already had an idea. Father, you've cultivated the taboo attribute. Will the god extinguishing calamity come after an epoch? Yi Qingyan looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Night Sorrow only had one epoch to fight. This was no longer a secret in the Yi family. Currently, almost everyone in Night Moon Empire's Yi Linghuan's lineage was a king. In other words, before reaching the Emperor realm, they had the qualifications to be immortal. In terms of lifespan, Night Sorrow was the most important. Chapter 21-23. You're putting too much pressure on yourself, Sikong Chuyu said. An era is not short, it's 100 billion years. How long have we lived? It's only 1,000 years, Night Sorrow said. After listening to Night Sorrow's words, no one said anything, because 100 billion years was indeed a long time for everyone. Right now, everyone's lifespan was only a little more than 1,000 years. Then, the family members asked about Night Sorrow's plan. Night Sorrow told them his plan. He intended to stay on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge to improve his realm, while his doppelganger would deal with some matters in Starmoon City and Tianhuang City. If he had free time, he would cultivate. Everyone supported Night Sorrow's decision. Night Sorrow needed to improve his realm, which everyone knew. It was not appropriate to let Night Sorrow rest. In addition, it was currently the last era of the struggle between the 100 Races Alliance and the Demon-Winged Clan in the Celestial Realm. It was also a critical juncture. Night Sorrow, aren't you going to Medicine Valley to take a look? Aoi looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Why should I go? I'm not going. Those people can't be spoiled. If we give them too much attention, it will become their capital to do whatever they want. If you want to get together with Master and Senior Brothers, just inform them and let them meet in Sky City or Starmoon City. Yang Lei directly opposed. She was now very angry. She felt that some people in Medicine Valley were spoiled. They were not shit, but they still used nepotism to pull the family's development. This made her very annoyed. According to Ninth Senior Sister, our Taishan Peak members are fine, but the members of the other peaks are somewhat disappointing. Night Sorrow nodded. He was not a calculative person, but some members of Medicine Valley used their relationship with him to bully the Southern Dipper Sect, Thunder Rumbling Sect, and Holy Light Temple. They simply had no bottom line and did not know their own identity. Aoi did not persuade anymore. Night Sorrow's attitude toward Taishan Peak had not changed. As for the situation of the other peaks, Night Sorrow could not be blamed for being angry. They had indeed gone too far and even had no bottom line. The strongest person in the family was not even a king, or even a holy king. What qualifications did they have to bully other kings and emperors? They were just using Night Sorrow's face to look down on him. Night Sorrow, you issued the domain leader's command and expressed your attitude. There are some things that you don't have to worry about. Those who don't work hard but still put on airs will be beaten to a pulp. The 9 Regions world is a place with rules. Not to mention the Yi family, there are also Tianji Tower and Deathly Hall. There are some unspoken rules, and whoever violates them will also be punished. Yi Wuyo said. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that there were some things that he did not have to deal with deliberately. As long as he expressed his attitude, it was enough. T-Jingji %. Version first released. The dinner was very good. Then, Night Sorrow, Father Gu, and Yi Wuyo went to the waterside pavilion of the mansion to drink a cup of tea. Yi Shang was no longer worried about Gu Gu's father. With the support of his top-notch pills that could change one's aptitude and increase one's comprehension, Gu Gu's father had already entered the Saint King realm in the past 1,000 years. Even if he cultivated slowly, the possibility of entering the Sovereign King realm within 10,000 years was very high. After the family gathering, some of them returned to the 9 Regions world. Night Sorrow's wives stayed behind to accompany Night Sorrow. After it was quiet, Night Sorrow accompanied his wives in the Night Moon Villa. When he was free, he went to the Twilight Tea House to drink tea or cultivate the Wuji Spear technique. His doppelganger could not increase its realm, but it could improve its battle techniques and mastery. When the mastery of the Wuji Spear technique increased, the actual body could use the Wuji Spear technique to cultivate the Wuji attribute of the Wuji Spear technique. In the absence of war, the situation was very stable. After the Humanitarian League handed the task of guarding the gate to the Heaven Wasteland Army, those who should retreat retreated. The God-slaying team came to the Night Moon Villa, and even the First Army came. Anyway, there was no war now. Since everyone was here, Night Sorrow did not chase them away. If there was a war, they could just go back. A month later, Wu Lingfei also came to the Night Moon Villa. To Night Sorrow's surprise, Long Xianxing also came back. Now, Long Xianxing had to change his name. He should be called Emperor Long Xianxing. He had stayed in the Black Tortoise race's territory for a long time, and his cultivation had reached the Emperor realm. Compared to the others who had returned to the ancestral land to cultivate, he came back later and his cultivation speed was slower. Night Sorrow knew that this was related to the race's characteristics. The lifespan of the Black Tortoise race's cultivators was different from normal cultivators. For normal cultivators, Sage Kings had a lifespan of 10,000 years. However, the Sage Kings of the Black Tortoise race had a lifespan of tens of thousands of years. Night Sorrow held a banquet to welcome the return of Wu Lingfei and Emperor Long Xianxing. Emperor Long Xianxing first apologized to Night Sorrow. Because he did not participate in the war, he did not accept the title of Emperor Long Xianxing. In the nine-domain world, there were many people who were more accomplished than him in the primal chaos domain. However, no one had the title of Emperor or Emperor Lord. Night Sorrow did not force him and called him Elder Long Xianxing. This was because Long Xianxing was an elder in the nine-domain world's commander-in-chief's office. During that period of time, the cultivators of our nine-domain world were snatched away and taken away. I felt very bad because I, as the realm lord, couldn't take care of you all. Fortunately, everyone has returned. We can face the enemy together, said Yi Shan. While Yi Shan was guiding others in their cultivation, he was also focusing on his own cultivation. He was focusing on improving his Wuji attribute. Yi Shan was confident that he could improve his realm in 100 billion years. However, it was very difficult to improve his taboo attribute. If he couldn't break through a bottleneck, he wouldn't be able to break through it. Night Sorrow would occasionally go to Tianhuang City and Reincarnation Island to take a look. However, he did not go to God's capital. This was because there were things that he could not deal with there. Night Sorrow could not deal with Jun Xuanji's matter. Moreover, he felt that the main responsibility for this matter was not his. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed. Night Sorrow's main body had cultivated for 300 years. However, the improvement in these 300 years was not great. The fastest improvement was the void attribute, which was still at the middle stage of the second Emperor Tribulation. The destruction attribute and space attribute had also improved, but it was not as obvious as the void attribute. As for the infinity attribute that Night Sorrow cared about the most, it was still at the middle Emperor rank. Mo Tianji still did not make any movements. Night Sorrow did not know the details. Half a year after Mo Tianji's soul and main body merged, the spatial treasure in her hand enlarged. Her soul and main body entered the spatial treasure. Ordinary spatial treasures couldn't store other spatial treasures. They had to be of a higher grade. The heaven-sealing Great Hall was a magic treasure, but it was also a building that displayed the core of the world. It had no problem storing spatial treasures that weren't of a particularly high grade. In this situation, if Mo Tianji did not come out, Night Sorrow would not know the situation. On the other hand, Jun Xuanji, who was dealing with the Humanitarian League in God's capital, noticed something wrong. In the past 10 years, Night Sorrow had been to the nine-domain world, the Chaos Realm, Tianhuang City, and Reincarnation Island. However, he had not come to God's capital. Chapter 21-24. After pondering for a while, Jun Xuanji felt that Night Sorrow might be dissatisfied with her in other aspects. She felt that the most likely reason was her way of doing things. Her way of doing things during that period was obviously in conflict with Night Sorrow's philosophy. Even if Night Sorrow did not say anything, it did not mean that there was no barrier in his heart. Knowing that something was wrong, Jun Xuanji wanted to change her ways. After handing over some matters to the Humanitarian League, Jun Xuanji returned to the ethereal Imperial City and went to Night Moon Villa. After walking around the profound heaven world and visiting Big Dipper King and the others, Night Sorrow found that Jun Xuanji was there and immediately went into seclusion. After 10 years, Night Sorrow had analyzed and verified some things. He mainly analyzed whether the relationship between him and Jun Xuanji was more important than the relationship between them. If the relationship was more important, then Jun Xuanji would not appear once in 10 years. If the relationship was more important, then he could let go of the matter. The solution was very simple. He just had to reduce the problem to a small one and deal with it coldly. After a long time, the matter would fade away. Night Sorrow's seclusion made Jun Xuanji's intention to talk to him fall through. After returning to the divine capital, Jun Xuanji told Zhu Jiuyan about the situation this time. She wanted to ask Zhu Jiuyan what she thought of this matter. Xuanji, we are friends. However, there are some things that I have to say. You went overboard. Night Sorrow wanted to talk to you last time because he wanted to resolve the matter. However, your attitude was very casual and you did not care at all. To put it bluntly, Night Sorrow was just using you. Zhu Jiuyan said. She was a bystander. I did not use him. I really did not use him. Jun Xuanji shook her head. Then what was your attitude when Night Sorrow came to you to resolve the matter? You did not care at all. You did not care about other people's feelings. Zhu Jiuyan said. Jun Xuanji lowered her head and did not say anything. She did not have that kind of thoughts during that conversation. However, she expressed that kind of attitude. To put it bluntly, you acted very cold. However, what kind of person is Night Sorrow? What kind of status is he? He doesn't only care about his own reputation. He wants to fight for the reputation of his wives and set a good example for his children. You don't care about his reputation, but he cares about his own reputation, Zhu Jiuyan said. My thoughts were wrong. Now that things have become difficult, we can't even be friends in the future, Jun Xuanji sighed. 718 Ohap Zhu Jiuyan did not continue speaking. She felt that Jun Xuanji was wrong. His way of doing things was too self-centered. In the 100 Races Alliance of the Celestial Realm, no one dared to act aloof in front of Night Sorrow. To put it bluntly, you might not take his face as your face, but he took his own face as his face. Think of a way to solve it. Don't let Night Sorrow think that you are using him, Zhu Jiuyan reminded Jun Xuanji. Zhu Jiuyan left after she finished speaking. She could only give advice on some matters. As for how to deal with it, only the person involved would know. After Zhu Jiuyan left, Jun Xuanji fell into deep thought. After thinking for a while, she felt that Zhu Jiuyan was right. Her way of doing things was wrong. Later on, whether it was intentional or not, she showed that she didn't care. Jun Xuanji couldn't see Night Sorrow's clone, so she went to find Night Sorrow's main body. 10 years of indifference had caused the temperature to drop. If it continued to be this cold, then the relationship between the two would be sealed in ice. With Jun Xuanji's arrival, Night Sorrow could only stop cultivating. Night Sorrow floated down from the Haotian pagoda and nodded to Jun Xuanji. Is there anything wrong with the Humanitarian League? No, there are some things that I can handle, Jun Xuanji said. If there are any troublesome problems, find Pu Luo and Misty to help you, Night Sorrow said. I'm here for the matter between us, Jun Xuanji said after hesitating for a while. It's all in the past. It doesn't matter if you don't care. I really don't know what happened. Even if I know what happened, I will forget it very quickly, Night Sorrow said. Jun Xuanji's face changed. Things were really like what Zhu Jiuyan said. Night Sorrow had already begun to resist this matter. I seem to have expressed myself wrongly last time. That's not what I was thinking, Jun Xuanji shook her head. She suddenly felt that she was wrong, very wrong. Xuanji, we are friends. Even if there were some problems, after some time, things will be the same as before. You don't have to feel that you owe me anything, and I naturally won't feel that I owe you anything. Let's forget about that matter, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Forget about that matter, Jun Xuanji's mind seemed to have been struck by lightning. She understood that things were developing in the worst direction. Night Sorrow, it's really not like that. I expressed myself wrongly. I feel that we are too familiar with each other. Some words can be expressed in a joking manner. There's no other meaning behind it, Jun Xuanji explained. Jun Xuanji explained. She knew that Yi Shang was thinking in accordance with Zhu Jiuyun's deduction. This was normal. It's nothing. If I, Knight Sorrow, am the best commander, then you are the best strategist. This is the best proof of our relationship. Knight Sorrow threw a jar of wine to Jun Xuanji. I thought that a simple explanation would be enough. It seems that it won't work. Then, I'll just say it. You might think that I, Jun Xuanji, took advantage of our friendship and used underhanded means to trick you. My way of doing things is also unscrupulous. Then, I rejected you without knowing what's good for me. You also made some judgments based on the attitude of that time, and then used 10 years to affirm the conclusion. Jun Xuanji said a bunch of words. She knew that if she didn't explain it clearly today, she wouldn't have another chance in the future. Knight Sorrow said that he would forget about that matter, which was enough to prove his attitude. After hearing Jun Xuanji's words, Knight Sorrow didn't reply because what Jun Xuanji said was the truth. 10 years wasn't a long time, but it was enough to prove one thing. If it wasn't for Knight Sorrow, he wouldn't have taken the initiative to meet Jun Xuanji. It was Jun Xuanji who rejected him and left without saying goodbye. It seems like that's really the case. Listen to me. I really care about you. I'm not using you. I'm really not using you. I rejected you because I didn't want things to become too embarrassing and I didn't want the world to know about it. I really didn't want to marry you and I didn't want others to know because I was afraid that you would be embarrassed and lose face. Remember that one time when I asked you if you liked me? Actually, I already had an idea. I didn't want to be your wife and I didn't need you to take responsibility for me. I just wanted to be your confidant, Jun Xuanji explained while looking at Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow turned his head and looked at the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. His originally calm heart fluctuated a little. He could see that Jun Xuanji was telling the truth. After thinking for a moment, Knight Sorrow looked at Jun Xuanji and said, I feel that some things are lacking in openness. Of course, I'm not talking about the matter of you getting the medicine. I'm talking about us. I didn't do anything sneaky, and the current situation is quite good. Chapter 21-25. Okay, you can go back. But I hope that you are still the 9-domain world you were before, Knight Sorrow said as he returned to the top of the clear sky pagoda and continued to cultivate in the time acceleration. Jun Xuanji turned and walked toward the heavenly desolate city. She knew that today's conversation was effective. At the very least, she had clarified some issues. Also, Jun Xuanji knew that Knight Sorrow had some opinions about her style of doing things. After returning to the divine capital, Jun Xuanji didn't talk to anyone and went straight to the cultivation room. There were some things that she needed to think about and deal with properly. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. After Jun Xuanji left, Knight Sorrow fell into deep thought. He knew that Jun Xuanji was telling the truth. There was no need to lie about some things. Jun Xuanji was telling the truth, so he had to think about the problem from another perspective. After thinking for a while, Knight Sorrow felt that it was more appropriate to deal with it coldly. Because of what happened last time, Jun Xuanji didn't want him to fix it. Jun Xuanji was open-minded. As for having a close female friend, Knight Sorrow didn't think about it. In the cultivation room of the Humanitarian League headquarters, Jun Xuanji also understood that since Knight Sorrow had an opinion about it, he had to fix it. Jun Xuanji's avatar once again arrived at the Yeyue villa. This time, Yi Shang, who was instructing Yi Shaokei in his cultivation, did not choose to go into seclusion. Since the matter had already been discussed, since Jun Xuanji had arrived, he would face it calmly. Everyone was chatting about the affairs of the Human Tao Alliance. The Humanitarian League didn't expand anymore because the 100 Races Alliance in the Celestial Realm didn't have any parasites. Without parasites, there was no target to attack and no territory to snatch. The few forces were operating their own forces peacefully. Alliance Master, Yuzhu, Ruisi, and the Great Demon King asked if our Humanitarian League could expand to the 9-domain world in the future. Jun Xuanji started a topic. The 9-domain world was the future supreme world. It was no secret that the celestial realm's level was going to decline, so the Humanitarian League also knew about it. As long as we listen to the arrangements, there's nothing we can't do. If we don't listen to the arrangements, no matter who it is, no matter whose faction it is, they will be expelled, Night Sorrow said. Then I will discuss this matter with everyone, Jun Xuanji nodded. Latest carat M new, fastest, dollar on, things aren't that urgent. There's still an era left. If the Humanitarian League makes this arrangement now, others will have bad opinions. They will think that the Humanitarian League is planning to retreat without fighting much. Tell everyone that we'll make arrangements later. We'll come up with a unified plan. Night Sorrow didn't want to make arrangements now. Lin Piao Miao nodded. Indeed, we can't arrange it now. This era is a time of war. In Night Sorrow's words, it's the era of the demon slayers. If we move the Humanitarian League now, it will make people uneasy. Jun Xuanji left. Night Sorrow wanted her to talk to the other members of the Humanitarian League. Night Sorrow, the 9 regions world is our home. After the 100 races of the celestial realm go there, we can't act recklessly. Otherwise, the world will be in chaos, Yang Lei said. Perhaps you don't feel it, but I know very well that the 9 regions world is expanding at an extremely fast speed. The spatial barrier is constantly absorbing energy from the void and expanding in all directions. You all know how big the celestial realm is. In the future, the 9 regions world will be like this. If we only rely on the living beings of the 9 regions world to rule, there will be a large number of barren worlds. This isn't suitable. The 100 races of the celestial realm must go to the 9 regions world to develop. I'll get the elders to set a rule. Of course, there will be people to enforce it, Night Sorrow said. He already had a plan in mind. Seeing that Night Sorrow had a plan, Lin Piao Miao and the others didn't say anything. Xuanji, you haven't been here for a while. You seem to be a little restrained now. You're not as relaxed as you used to be, Sikong Chuyu muttered. Night Sorrow didn't reply. Some things were better left to himself. He felt that cultivating was the most important thing. Strength was the most important thing. Night Sorrow cultivated diligently. Night Moon's people in the villa were also affected and worked hard. On this night Sorrow was cultivating the limitless spear art. Suddenly, he sensed something. His body flashed a few times and he was outside the mansion. Outside the mansion, King Yowu stood there with a smile. Uncle, you've successfully come out of seclusion. Night Sorrow bowed to King Yowu. It went very well. You're in a good situation too. It won't take long for you to enter the tribulation of 3 kings. Hurry up and cultivate to the tribulation of 4 kings. At that time, your life will transform and your soul will level up. You won't be destroyed so easily, King Yowu said. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow invited King Yowu to the Twilight Tea House. At this time, the Twilight Tea House wasn't open yet. However, it didn't matter whether it was open or not. The waiter brought Night Sorrow into the snow pavilion. Uncle, I have something to tell you. I hope you can understand and support me, Night Sorrow said after pouring a cup of tea for King Yowu. You can't make a wrong decision. You don't have to be so serious. King Yowu shook his head. Then, Night Sorrow told him about Imo Tianji's situation, what happened at that time, and future arrangements. King Yowu nodded. Your master's grudge is a racial grudge. It can't be blamed on anyone. In other words, Mo Tianji's bad luck started with your master. Since she used the fate slash, she has indeed given up on her past. Besides, with the heavenly oath, she won't be able to overturn the heavens. It's good for the 9 domains world to have one more battle power. It's good that you support me, Night Sorrow said. She has gone through some twists and turns and avoided the heavenly tribulation's detection. However, her lifespan is at most 1 era longer than Uncle, the City Lord, and the Grand Elder. Of course, it depends on who can take the last step, King Yewu said. Uncle, the city lord, and the grand elder have a high chance. Mo Tianji has gone through more tribulations in recent years. I don't think there's much hope, Knight Sorrow said after thinking for a while. That's where you're wrong. There are some things you don't understand. Why did your master only trap Mo Tianji's soul for one era? Why was Mo Tianji able to persevere after so many setbacks? It's because they are the souls of the tribulation of 7 emperors. The tribulation of 7 emperors is a high-level tribulation of 7 emperors. The soul is as solid as a real body. Normal attacks can't destroy it. You and your master were able to trap Mo Tianji because of the human emperor's seal. The fire of karma can counter it. Now that she has cut off her past karma and merged with her original body, she won't lose her strength when she comes out, King Yewu explained to Knight Sorrow. I see. Then she still has a chance to pass the tribulation of 8 emperors, Knight Sorrow said. Chapter 21-26. During the conversation, King Yewu told Knight Sorrow that before Mo Tianji was trapped by Yan Wushuang, she was the leader of the 3 grand heavens of the Demon Wing clan. She was the real leader and the most important leader of the Demon Wing clan after the Demon Alpha in the last reincarnation. The Demon Wing clan's sacrificial tower evaluated her as a cultivator with immortal potential. Then I underestimated her. Knight Sorrow did not know about this. But that's all in the past. She made an oath to the heavenly Tao and the heaven realm and the 9-domain world, so she has to abide by it. Otherwise, the heavenly Tao and the world's origin will instantly turn her into ashes. King Yewu was not worried about this. If Martial Uncle says so, then I'm relieved. Yi Shang nodded. Don't worry too much. I understand you. I will talk to the city lord and the grand elder about this later. There is no need to talk to the others. Save her dignity. Like you said, we should not judge a hero by success or failure. Even if we are not enemies, Mo Tianji is also a cultivator. It is not appropriate to trample on her dignity, King Yewu said to Knight Sorrow. Uncle Master, you've come out of seclusion. That's the tribulation of the 9 emperors, a fusion of spirit and soul. The Lord of Tianhuang's city is the same. Can't we take the initiative to attack? We can attack, but it is meaningless. We do not have the ability to break the Demon Imperial City. The members of the Demon Wing clan are in the city, so there is nothing we can do. You should know that in the history of the Celestial Realm, there have been many amazing cultivators. Uncle and the city lord are close to them at best, but not better. Even our ancestors could not break the defense of the Demon Imperial City, so we cannot. But we can consider your suggestion. If we have a suitable plan, we can attack and trap them in the Demon Imperial City, King Yewu said. Knight Sorrow nodded. He felt depressed and wanted to fight. Following this, Knight Sorrow and King Yewu chatted about some relaxing topics. The slaughter epoch had just begun. There was still another epoch and 100 billion years to go, so there was no need to rush. After leaving the Twilight Tea House, King Yewu did not return to the Night Moon Villa. He had only come to see Knight Sorrow. Before leaving, King Yewu left a message for Knight Sorrow. The magic Imperial City was the spirit sea of a half-step deity destroying tribulation expert. To break it, one had to have the strength to go through the deity destroying tribulation. At the very least, one had to have the attack power of a deity destroying tribulation expert. Only then could one break it. Another way was to have a certain amount of fire of merit. King Yewu meant that it was only possible for one's power of virtue to reach the emperor rank. Yi Shang's power of virtue was still far from the emperor rank. 700 years ago, Yi Shang's virtue cultivation had just entered the emperor rank. Over the past 700 years, his power of virtue had increased rapidly, but he was still some distance away from reaching the middle rank. You forever and free _8, to read Q8 novels T, the increase in merit power of a merit body was the same as cultivation. The higher the rank, the more energy was needed. If Knight Sorrow wanted to increase his merit power, he still needed a large amount of merit power. It was a long road ahead. After sending off King Yowu, Night Sorrow returned to the Night Moon Villa. He asked his wives about how to increase his merit power quickly. However, no one knew. After all, no one had come into contact with this domain. Night Sorrow, the human Tao merit's sacred items are the human emperor's seal and the human sacred scripture, the Book of Taoism. The human emperor's seal represents authority. The human sacred scripture, the Book of Taoism, represents human Tao civilization. If you can pass down the spirit of the human sacred scripture, it will be a great merit to the human race and the celestial realm, said Lin Piaomiao. Preaching is a bright path. Not only will it benefit you personally, but it will also benefit the human race and the 100 Race Alliance. You must know that the divine beast race and the other races have their own independent cultivation civilization. However, their etiquette, morals, and spiritual civilization all come from the human race. Datura was also very supportive of Lin Piaomiao's suggestion. Night Sorrow also felt that this was a path. However, preaching involved too much. Not just anyone could preach freely. Celestial realm forbade preaching. Some cultivators were forbidden from spreading some special ideas. The main reason was that they were afraid that some fallacies would corrupt the celestial realm's culture. If one wanted to preach, they had to be recognized. Preaching is the same as spreading human civilization. This is a very important matter. Night Sorrow, you have to communicate with Uncle Master and the city lord of Tianhuang, said Sikong Chuyu. This is a big matter. I have to think about it carefully. I'm preaching human civilization. With the sacred scripture of human civilization, the Tao Te Ching, no one should be able to define it. Of course, we have to think about it carefully. Night Sorrow lowered his head and pondered. He did not make a decision rashly. After thinking for 2 days, Night Sorrow felt that this matter should wait a little longer. If his cultivation increased by one more level, he would have more prestige in front of the cultivators of the 100 Race Alliance in Celestial Realm. At that time, things would be smoother. After putting aside the matter of preaching, Night Sorrow focused on cultivation every day. He was anxious to increase his Wuji attribute. He was now a mid-level 8-star emperor. If he became a 9-star emperor, he would be at the Imperial Tribulation level. If his Wuji attribute entered the Imperial Tribulation level, then Night Sorrow's forbidden attribute would be at the peak. He could slowly make his way to the peak. The cultivation and realm of an Imperial cultivator were piled up over time. Night Sorrow was now in the Imperial Tribulation level. Every step forward was not easy. However, Night Sorrow could endure it. Time slipped away in this state. The cultivators of Tianhuang City admired Night Sorrow very much. Apart from his unparalleled achievements, Night Sorrow's original body had not returned from cultivating on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge once. It had been 30 years. In other words, after King Yowu saw Night Sorrow had cultivated in accelerated speed for another 20 years. At the top of the Clear Sky Pagoda, there was a time acceleration of 30 times. In this 20 years, Night Sorrow had cultivated for more than 600 years. In order to better interact with heaven and earth, Night Sorrow didn't defend. The Nirvana tide constantly attacked. Night Sorrow's body wasn't destroyed, but his robes were a little tattered after the energy baptism. Night Sorrow's void attribute had already reached the peak of the Second Emperor Tribulation. His destruction attribute had also reached the peak. His time and space attribute was a little lacking. Night Sorrow planned to wait until his time and space attribute was cultivated before undergoing the tribulation together. As for his Wuji attribute, after 600 years of deducing and grinding, it had improved by 30%. It was at the late stage of the middle-class emperor rank. It was still far from reaching the high-class emperor rank. On this day, Night Sorrow's clone planned to see King Yowu and ask about the Tao preaching. However, something special happened at this moment. Mo Tianji appeared in the sky ceiling palace. After 30 years of time acceleration in her spatial treasure, Mo Tianji had completely recovered and officially came out of seclusion. Once Mo Tianji came out, Night Sorrow's 9 regions clone appeared. Chapter 21-27. Thank you. Mo Tianji bowed slightly to Night Sorrow. Looking at Mo Tianji, Night Sorrow was stunned. Mo Tianji's 3,000 feet long white hair was gone, replaced by black hair that reached her waist. The karma of the past is gone, so the 3,000 strands of worry is gone. Looking at Night Sorrow's surprised expression, Mo Tianji shook her head. Doesn't that affect your strength? Night Sorrow asked. Mo Tianji shook her head. The 3,000 feet long silver hair is an absolute art that I often used before the mid-level Emperor Tribulation. I'm really good at the mid-level Emperor Tribulation, so I can only use sword skills. When you saw me, I wasn't strong enough to use that sword skill. When I first saw you, your soul was one with your main body, but you didn't use sword skills. Night Sorrow asked what he didn't understand. CP, at that time, my body was trapped by the Emperor's power of virtue, so I couldn't use sword skills. Then, my soul left my body, so I couldn't use sword skills. Later on, I often used the 3,000 feet long kill, Mo Tianji explained. At this time, Night Sorrow understood that Mo Tianji didn't use her strength when fighting with him. Night Sorrow took Mo Tianji out of the ceiling sky palace and went to the tea house opened by Chen Chen. They asked for a private room. I'll call you Realm Lord. I'm about to go through the tribulation, but I don't know if I can succeed. This is my soul crystal. If it's bright, it means I'm alive. If it's dark, it means I've failed the tribulation. Then you've wasted your efforts on me and I can't do anything for you, Mo Tianji said. In the future, you can think of things from a different perspective. I'll do what I promised you and respect you. When there's no war, we can be friends. After you swear the heavenly Tao oath, I'll treat you as the protector of the 9 domains world. You're about to undergo your tribulation. Is there anything I can do for you? Night Sorrow asked. After Mo Tianji took a sip of tea, she sized up Night Sorrow seriously. I admit that I underestimated the Sector Lord's magnanimity. The human emperor's courage and morals are indeed not ordinary. I cultivated in the spatial treasure for 30 years. Under the 40 times acceleration, it was equivalent to a few hundred years. After his soul and body had fused perfectly, his strength had also recovered to its peak. He was confident that he could overcome the tribulation of the 8 emperors. However, I reckon that after overcoming the 8 emperors' tribulation, the 9 emperors' tribulation will follow, because my lifespan has reached the 9th era. Speak. What do you need? What can I do for you? Night Sorrow asked again. Then I'll tell you the truth. After coming from Reincarnation Island to the Celestial Realm, I've experienced a few setbacks and had to cultivate from the beginning. I didn't have enough resources. This time, fusing with my original body used up a lot of resources, so I don't have enough, Mo Tianji said. Here's 1,000,000 Saint Spirit stones. Take it first. What else do you need? Night Sorrow took out a storage ring and handed it to Mo Tianji. That Ash God Stone, have you used it all? Mo Tianji asked hesitantly. Not all. I still have some. Night Sorrow nodded. Can you give me 5 kilograms? 5 kilograms is enough for me to attempt the tribulation of the 9 emperors after passing the tribulation of the 8 emperors. Of course, it's fine if I don't use it. I'm just worried that I won't have enough time. Mo Tianji said. She knew that 5 kilograms of Ash God Stone was extremely valuable. You can only help me guard the 9 domains world if you're alive. I won't be stingy with you. Here's 10 kilograms of Ash God Stone. Take it. Live well. Since you have the chance to live, cherish it. Night Sorrow took out 10 kilograms of Ash God Stone and gave it to Mo Tianji. I will. Don't worry. I understood it 30 years ago. After 1,200 years in the time acceleration, I've thought it through even more. Mo Tianji nodded at Night Sorrow. I believe you. My doppelganger won't leave the 9 domains world. Actually, it can't leave. If you need anything, just let me know. As long as it's within the 9 domains world, I'll be there in a moment. Night Sorrow also gave a soul crystal to Mo Tianji. This isn't your original body? Mo Tianji was stunned. She couldn't tell that the Night Sorrow in front of her was a doppelganger. His soul was very stable, unlike the doppelganger. There's no harm in telling you. I have 2 doppelgangers. This doppelganger has fused with the origin of the 9 domains world. It's restricted from leaving the 9 domains world. However, because it's born from flesh and blood, it's similar to my original body. In fact, if my original body really dies, this doppelganger can be used as my original body. The one you saw before was my battle doppelganger and my original body. Night Sorrow explained to Mo Tianji. 2 doppelganger are already so strong. If you cultivate to soul fusion, your strength will far surpass others. Dual taboo attributes, 2 doppelganger, virtuous emperor, and the 9 domains world is completely under your control. It'll be very difficult for the reincarnation demonic winged race to win, Mo Tianji said. How should I put it? According to the old saying of the human race, where there are people, there will be battles. Actually, it should be said that where there are lives, there will be battles. In the beginning of the celestial realm, the demonic winged race chose to fight against the 100 races of the celestial realm instead of coexisting. Thus, they decided to fight to the death. At our time, the demonic winged race will inherit the will of their ancestors and fight to the end. The 100 Races Alliance of the Celestial Realm will also follow the will of their ancestors and continue to fight. Therefore, some things are already destined and cannot be changed. Night Sorrow took a sip of tea and said, "Yes, no one has a way out. No one can complain." Mo Tianji also knew that Night Sorrow was right. Currently, the 9 domains world is stable. If you want to go to the celestial realm or other realms, you can go there. Night Sorrow didn't want to restrict Mo Tianji too much. "Realm Lord, can you tell me why I failed to enter the 9 domains world back then?" Mo Tianji asked. Night Sorrow smiled and told her about the restrictions after the Emperor-grade teleportation array recognized its master. He also said that this was the reason for its safety. So that's the case. Cultivators above the Realm Lord level can't enter. Those below the Realm Lord level are simply courting death. I understand. Mo Tianji knew that Night Sorrow had a lot of backup plans. Go and undergo your tribulation. I will also go and see if the preaching matter is okay. If it is, then I will be very busy. Night Sorrow muttered. You want to preach? Spread the faith and collect the power of faith? Mo Tianji was stunned. Power of faith. What is the power of faith? I don't understand. Night Sorrow was stunned. He had never heard of this term before. It's similar to the power of virtue of your human race. The demonic winged race also collects the power of faith. The method is to create sacred statues and worship them. Then, the power of faith will be generated. Mo Tianji said. Chapter 21-28. Using the power of virtue to break the devil imperial city is indeed a path. It is a rather extreme path with unknown results. The train of thought is correct, but it is very difficult. It is already good enough for one virtuous emperor to appear in each cycle of the celestial realm. In the past, the virtuous emperor attacked the devil imperial city and damaged the city, but he did not manage to break it. The devil-winged race is not afraid of this. The chances of producing a virtuous emperor is too low. It is like successfully passing the God-destroying tribulation. It is a path that no one can take. Mo Tianji said. I have to try, but I only have one epoch of time. Yi Shang smiled and said. You are very hard-working, but you have the 9 domain worlds as your backing. You don't have to do this. Mo Tianji could not understand his actions. Perhaps. I feel that if life is exciting, 1 epoch or 100 billion years is enough. If one cannot achieve anything in 100 billion years, then there is no meaning in being mediocre. Don't feel bad because I want to fight the devil-winged race. This is fate. Night Sorrow said. I won't. I will not actively harm the devil-winged race, nor will I help them. What I just said is something everyone knows. Right, can you think of a way for me to obtain the life source of the 9 domain worlds? This way, I will have some compatibility with the 9 domain worlds and will not be rejected. Even if I fight with cultivators of the same level, I will have an advantage. Mo Tianji changed the topic. Hearing Mo Tianji's words, Night Sorrow closed his eyes and communicated with the 9 domain worlds with his soul. Night Sorrow said. This matter was nothing. A milky white energy shot out from the heaven-sealing palace and entered Mo Tianji's divine sea. Many thanks, I am going to undergo my tribulation. Mo Tianji took the life source of the 9 domain worlds and turned to leave. Yi Shang drank his tea. From Mo Tianji's actions, Yi Shang could tell that Mo Tianji's attitude was very proper. She wanted the world origin energy, just like the red-clothed blue shadow. She wanted to change the life origin energy. Mo Tianji took the 9 regions world origin energy and became a 9 regions world origin energy. Ignoring Mo Tianji's matter, Night Sorrow entered the heaven-sealing hall and continued to cultivate the limitless sword art. As for whether or not Mo Tianji would cause any trouble, Night Sorrow was not worried. First of all, Mo Tianji could not do anything to harm the 9 regions world. Hurting someone for no reason was also considered hurting. As for the cultivators from the 9 domain world looking for trouble, it wasn't a big deal. In the 9 domain world, no one could threaten Mo Tianji. Night Sorrow's avatar in the celestial realm came to Yawu Mountain and met with King Yawu. King Yawu was very happy to see Night Sorrow. King Yawu looked at Night Sorrow and said, Kid, you have to remember that you are the young city lord of the holy capital. If you have nothing to do, come and visit. Disciple will remember martial uncle's teachings. Night Sorrow bowed and said. That's good. You must have a reason for coming here. Tell me what it is. King Yawu gestured at Night Sorrow to sit down and talk. Martial uncle, I want to preach. I want to teach the human sacred scripture, the Book of Taoism. Although it is to increase merit power, it is also to improve the human civilization of the celestial realm. Night Sorrow said. Preach. Teach the human sacred scripture, the Book of Taoism. That is fine. You are the human emperor. You have the right to preach. You should teach the human civilization and the Book of Taoism. King Yawu was shocked. He did not object but supported it. If there is no problem, then that is good. I have talked to Mo Tianji about this. She thinks it is right. The demon wing race elites also collect the power of faith. Night Sorrow got up and poured a cup of tea for King Yawu. No. Don't touch the power of faith. It is not good for you. The merit power and the power of faith are similar, but they come from different sources and are different in nature. Virtue energy was obtained from cultivating one's virtue and benefiting the common people. It was bestowed by the heavenly Tao. Faith energy came from the offerings, worship, and prayers of other living beings. These 2 types of energy came from completely different sources, and their karma was different as well. As long as the cultivator of the merit body does not betray the Tao in his heart, the merit power will always be there. However, the power of faith is different. For example, the elites of the demon wing race who collect the power of faith now have the power of faith. If the demon wing race disappears, then their power of faith will disappear. In addition, the collection of the power of faith has a cause and effect relationship. When the cause and effect relationship reaches a certain level, it will affect the soul. King Yawu explained the relationship between the merit power and the power of faith to Night Sorrow. So that's how it is. This is also the reason why our heaven realm forbids the preaching of the Tao. Yi Shang understood something. That's right. Forbidding preaching means forbidding the spread of evil doctrines in the celestial realm and forbidding them from collecting the power of faith. King Yawu confirmed Night Sorrow's words. Then King Yawu told Night Sorrow that he would talk to the city lord and the grand elder. If it was convenient for them to preach in Tianhuang City, then it would be in Chengdu City. If the elders had different opinions, then it would be in Chengdu City. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. After settling things, Night Sorrow was about to leave. He planned to undergo the tribulation of the three kings. Your cultivation must have reached a bottleneck. When you undergo the tribulation in the future, come near Yawa Mountain. I can help you guard it. Yawa Mountain is also a forbidden area. No one dares to come here. King Yawu sized up Night Sorrow and said. Night Sorrow smiled. Uncle, I am looking for a place to undergo the tribulation. King Yawu nodded and let Night Sorrow go to Yawa Mountain to undergo the tribulation. He also asked about Night Sorrow's preparations. I am mentally prepared. Night Sorrow said. You silly boy. I am asking you if you have prepared the resources for the tribulation. In the past 2 eras, no one has died because of the tribulation. In the past, people died in droves. How can you not prepare the resources for recovery? You should also prepare some for healing. King Yawu looked at Night Sorrow and shook his head speechlessly. Seeing Night Sorrow's stunned expression, King Yawu knew that Night Sorrow didn't prepare any resources. King Yawu took out a few bottles of pills from his storage ring and explained their uses. 1 bottle could instantly replenish soul power, 1 bottle could replenish energy, and 1 bottle could heal physical injuries. Emperor rank pills. After opening the bottle, Night Sorrow was stunned. He was an alchemist and naturally knew the value of the pills given to him by King Yawu. Take it. If you feel that it is risky, use it. Don't feel that it is a waste. Pills can be refined. Staying alive is the most important thing. I will think of a way to get more pills. We only have 1 era. The resources for the tribulation must be prepared properly. Alright, come here with your real body. King Yawu said. Night Sorrow nodded. His real body on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge rushed to the divine capital. He wanted to undergo the tribulation of the 3 kings. After that, he could consider passing on the Tao. Night Sorrow didn't tell his family. He didn't want them to worry. If he succeeded, he could give them a surprise. Chapter 21-29. TC. Night Sorrow didn't dare to go to the top of Yawa Mountain. He was afraid that the Heavenly Way Thunder Trial would destroy the Celestial Realm's Fate Dragon. That would be a big problem. Of course, in the future, the sovereign world would be the 9-domain world, but the Heaven Realm still had a lifespan of thousands of reincarnations. During this period of time, the existence of the Heaven Realm's Fate Dragon was still very important. It could also support the development of the Heaven Realm's 100 clans and could also bestow fate upon some outstanding cultivators. King Yawu and Night Sorrow's clones had both arrived. Night Sorrow gave some resources to his original body. Be careful and go through it steadily. You should know that every time the Emperor's trial increases, its power will increase a little, King Yawu reminded Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. Although he was confident, he also knew that every Emperor's trial wasn't simple. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people suppressing their tribulations. Then, Night Sorrow released his cultivation and triggered the heavenly tribulation. As Night Sorrow released his cultivation, tribulation clouds appeared in the originally clear sky. The clouds quickly formed and filled the entire sky, including the divine capital. King Yawu's eyes twitched. When he was going through the 3 heavenly tribulations, the tribulation clouds didn't cover such a large area. The area and volume of the tribulation clouds determined the difference in energy and power. Night Sorrow's clones didn't get close. His original body wanted to go first. If the original body couldn't handle it, then the original body and the clone would merge. Holding the Samsara halberd, Night Sorrow looked up at the tribulation clouds. He could feel the power of the tribulation clouds. Come on. It's just the 3 emperors' trial. If I'm afraid of you, then I won't be able to pass any more tribulations in the future, Night Sorrow murmured. King Yawu, whose soul power covered Night Sorrow's original body, nodded. He admired Night Sorrow's confidence and aggressiveness the most. Ordinary people would tremble with fear when going through the Emperor's trial. But Night Sorrow had the will to fight that would never admit defeat. King Yawu knew that this was the temperament for great things. Ordinary cultivators lacked this temperament. While King Yawu was thinking, the thunder started to attack Night Sorrow. A bolt of lightning as thick as a bucket came down on Night Sorrow's head. Forbidden Samsara Dao Domain. Night Sorrow unleashed his Dao Domain to melt away the lightning tribulation. Following that, another spatial crack slashed towards the lightning tribulation. Confidence did not equate to arrogance. Night Sorrow wanted to allocate his energy in the most reasonable way possible, using all his energy on the blade. The spatial wren slashed at the thunder tribulation and melted it a little. Then, the reincarnation domain melted the thunder tribulation again. When the thunder tribulation reached Night Sorrow's head, its power was reduced to half. Waving his spear, Night Sorrow used the destruction true dragon kill. It was just a simple destructive energy battle skill, and he also used an absolute skill. Because it was not worth consuming soul power, the thunder calamity was not afraid of the negative effects on the soul. With a boom, the first lightning tribulation was dispersed by Night Sorrow's spear. After the first lightning tribulation dispersed, the tribulation cloud loosened and tightened. After rotating for a while, the second lightning tribulation came down. Again. Night Sorrow used the same old method. However, his Dao domain had changed into the merit taboo, primal Dao domain. His spear technique had also changed into primal extreme kill. Night Sorrow used the primal extreme kill to give the destruction energy a break. After the second lightning tribulation dispersed, Night Sorrow waved his right arm. The energy within his body quickly circulated, minimizing the consumption of the two spear attacks. How is it? King Yawu turned to look at Night Sorrow's doppelganger and asked. It's very powerful, but the consumption of the two lightning tribulations is not great. Night Sorrow shook his head. The lightning tribulation whizzed down. Night Sorrow kept integrating the energy. The four types of energy alternated. The infinity attribute was weaker, so Night Sorrow used his physical strength to support it. After an hour, the seventh lightning tribulation was over. Night Sorrow's energy had been consumed by 40%. King Yawu let out a sigh of relief because Night Sorrow would not be in danger this time. In the Emperor Calamity, the odd number of lightning tribulations was the strongest. Now that Night Sorrow had passed the seventh lightning tribulation, he had consumed less than half of his energy. The eighth lightning tribulation would not be too powerful. Only the most threatening lightning tribulation was left. Night Sorrow still had more than half of his energy left. In addition, his doppelganger had not joined yet. He could definitely withstand it. In fact, the eighth lightning tribulation had consumed 10% of Night Sorrow's energy. The ninth lightning tribulation had consumed 20% of Night Sorrow's energy. After the lightning tribulation was over, Night Sorrow still had 30% of his energy left. King Yawu nodded in satisfaction. The lightning tribulation was determined by the person, but it was definitely proportional to the energy contained in the person's body. Night Sorrow still had 30% of his energy left after passing the lightning tribulation. This meant that it was a tactical arrangement and the result of the reasonable use of energy. King Yawu was not even worried about Night Sorrow's next lightning tribulation because it was too easy. After removing the 30% of energy, Night Sorrow still had his doppelganger, so he still had a lot of energy left. The lightning tribulation clouds dispersed, and the energy of the heavenly path's reward fell into Night Sorrow's body. Night Sorrow sat down and activated his leakless real body to refine the lightning tribulation's energy. His doppelganger threw a jar of wine to King Yawu. Uncle, the lightning tribulation is over. I'm now a cultivator of the three emperors' tribulation. Good. Our divine capital has another expert. The 100 Races Alliance of the Celestial Realm has another expert. King Yawu was really happy. I won't let you down. Night Sorrow nodded at King Yawu. Night Sorrow's doppelganger and King Yowu returned to the peak of Yowu Mountain. Night Sorrow, I was counting on you to take over the position of the city lord of the divine capital, but now it's no longer possible. You and I have the same lifespan. You have to work hard together, King Yowu said after taking a sip of wine. I will. Night Sorrow nodded. My feelings are a bit complicated. Seeing you directly break through to the forbidden element and give up a few eras of lifespan makes my heart ache. From another point of view, I also hope that you can achieve something quickly. King Yowu shook his head. His gaze was deep. Uncle, you think too much. I'm very satisfied with everything I have now. I started as an ordinary person and cultivated to have a lifespan of 100 billion years. Plus, I might be able to fight for a future, Night Sorrow said. You will fight for a future because you have the potential and the temperament to achieve great things, King Yowu looked at Night Sorrow and said. 3 days later, Night Sorrow's original body and doppelganger left. The original body went to stabilize his realm and continue cultivating, while the doppelganger returned to the Night Moon Villa. King Yowu asked him to go back and wait for news. He went to discuss with the city lord and the Grand Elder about Night Sorrow's preaching. It was a big matter, so some discussions and arrangements had to be made. Chapter 2130. Yi Shang returned to the Yeyue Villa. He was in a very good mood because he had taken another step forward on his journey. After knowing that Night Sorrow had successfully advanced, the Night Moon Villa was filled with joy. A great expert. Wuyo, our Yi clan has produced a great expert. I never thought about it before. Yu Qing looked at her husband and said. Yes, a great expert. Back then, Night Moon Dynasty was suppressed and attacked. My wish is for Night Moon Dynasty to rise again and find my son. I don't ask for my son to achieve anything, as long as he is alive and well. Therefore, in my heart, I don't care about his achievements, as long as our family is safe and sound. Yi Wuyo looked at his wife and said what was on his mind. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. He bowed and poured a cup of wine for his father. He was also a father and could understand his father's state of mind. With nothing else to do, Night Sorrow waited for news. He wanted to hear about Imo Tianji's tribulation. He also wanted to hear about the result of King Yowu's discussion with the Heavenly Desolate City and the Grand Elder. These two matters were important. One was whether the cultivator of the 8th Emperor Tribulation could be born successfully. The other was whether the essence of the human Tao's sacred scripture, the Book of Taoism, could be spread. The results came quickly. On the second day after Night Sorrow returned to the Night Moon Villa, King Yowu and the Grand Elder came. Night Sorrow received King Yowu and the Grand Elder in the clean room. The city lord still has things to do, so he didn't come. However, he is very supportive of you spreading the human Tao civilization. I am the same. I'm here to inform you that there's no problem with this matter. Our Assembly of Elders has discussed this matter and we feel that we can set up a few more places to preach the Tao. Tianhuang City and Shendu City are naturally not a problem. There's also Xingyue City. Xingyue City will be the gateway between the 9 regions world and the primal chaos realm in the future. If you spread human civilization in Xingyue City, it will be of great help to the 9 regions world in the future, said the Grand Elder. Night Sorrow naturally did not object. Besides, spreading the civilization of humanity was not complicated. He was spreading the civilization of humanity, not the orthodoxy of cultivation. All he had to do was to display the Tao Te Ching during the ceremony of humanity for the people of the celestial realm to see. After the matter was decided, the time was set. The transmission of the Tao Te Ching would take place once every 100 years, and each time, it would take 9 days. The reason why the transmission of the Tao Te Ching would take place every 100 years was so that it wouldn't affect Night Sorrow's matter. The first preaching was scheduled to take place in the Heavenly Wasteland City a year later. After sending off the Grand Elder and King Yowu, Night Sorrow continued to cultivate the Wuji spear arts and continued to work hard to raise the level of his Wuji attribute. 2 months later, Night Sorrow's 9 realms doppelganger met Mo Tianji. Mo Tianji was in good condition. She had returned after refining the energy of the heavenly tribulation. Mo Tianji told Night Sorrow that she had passed the 8 emperors' tribulation. The 9 emperors' tribulation would probably come in a year. This meant that even with the acceleration of time, Mo Tianji only had a few decades to prepare. I came back to tell you that you have to cultivate in the acceleration of time to quickly stabilize your realm and then increase your cultivation. The 9 emperors' tribulation is much more terrifying than the 8 emperors' tribulation, Mo Tianji said. Okay, I'll be here. Call me if you need any help. Time is tight, go ahead. Night Sorrow nodded at Mo Tianji. The heavenly Tao only gave me a year. It's tight, so I'll go cultivate. Mo Tianji waved her hand, and a jade-like pavilion appeared near the heaven ceiling hall. Then, she flashed into it. That was her spatial treasure. It had the ability to accelerate time and interfere with some karma. The reason divination was ineffective was because of this spatial treasure called Origin Pavilion. Seeing Mo Tianji enter the spatial treasure to speed up her cultivation, Night Sorrow returned to the heaven ceiling hall and continued to study the Wuji spear arts. His cultivation was now progressing naturally. His main focus was on the cultivation of the Wuji attribute. His 2 doppelgangers cultivated the Wuji spear arts, while his original body used the Wuji spear arts to draw the Wuji energy into his body and then analyze and comprehend it. The Demon Wing clan did not attack. The 100 Races Alliance in the Celestial Realm was still preparing for war. The various elders also entered the Heaven Wasteland Army to guide their cultivation. This was because in the future war, the Heaven Wasteland Army would definitely be the main force. 3 elders went to the Reincarnation Island. They were Lu Qi, Emperor Tang, and Elder Ling Shu. There were many elders in the Humanitarian League, but they did not participate in this matter. The Humanitarian League had its own team. Under the arrangement of Jun Xuanji, the Humanitarian League formed a team of emperors called the Demon Slayer Team. Pu Luo, Lin Piaomiao, and the Great Demon King were all strengthening their own teams in the Humanitarian League. Night Sorrow would visit the Reincarnation Island when he had time. He would also walk around the Divine Capital. The Demon Slayer team was stationed in the Humanitarian League headquarters in the Divine Capital. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. In this year, many changes had occurred. Lin Piaomiao and the Great Demon King had entered the tribulation of 3 emperors. However, the 2 of them also said that they had used up all the resources they had accumulated over the years. Pu Luo had also advanced to the tribulation of 4 emperors. He was also the person with the highest cultivation in the Humanitarian League. Fen Tian had also entered the tribulation of emperors. He had made great progress with the help of the limitless sword art. There was one more matter that Night Sorrow had not dealt with. However, as the Tao Teaching Day approached, he had to face it. The God-slaying team had shrunk some members. Night Sorrow had given them 50 years to enter the Emperor Realm. Those who had not entered the Emperor Realm had left the team. Night Sorrow had grounded himself in the Reincarnation Island for 30 years and cultivated on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge for another 30 years. Now, 60 years had passed. As early as 10 years ago, some members of the God-slaying team had returned to the 9 Regions world because they did not complete Night Sorrow's request. It was too difficult to enter the Emperor Realm. It was not something that could be achieved with hard work and effort. It required talent and comprehension. This time, there were close to 20 people who returned to the 9 Regions world and Primal Chaos world. Only 30 people remained in the God-slaying team. Back then, the members of the Blood Shirt team from the Eastern Xian region made up the majority of those who left. There were also Qianqiuwei and Beixing from the Sky Mystic world. There were also some members from the Medicine Valley who did not meet the requirements. There were many members from the Medicine Valley in the God-slaying team. Yang Lei, Aoi, Mo Chen, Guanyi, Qin Zhen, Chu Ning, Tang Tian, Ma Zhuang, and Xiang Ding, who had joined the Medicine Valley, had only divided left and right. When he wanted to join the Taishan Peak, he had gone to the wrong place. Among these people, the first to enter the Emperor realm were Qin Zhen and Emo Chen. Unexpectedly, Xiang Ding followed closely behind. Chu Ning and Ma Zhuang entered the Emperor realm before the deadline. Tang Tian had also succeeded. The rest left the god-slaying team and went to the 9-region city. However, they were still in seclusion because they could still return to the god-slaying team after breaking through. This included Yang Lei, Aoi, and Sikong Chuyu. They had families and children these years, so they did not have much time to cultivate. It was time to impart the sacred text of Taoism. Knight Sorrow's 9 regions avatar gathered the members of the god-slaying team who had left to the heaven-sealing Great Hall. Chapter 2131. Everyone bowed. They knew that this was a chance that Knight Sorrow was giving them. Don't feel too pressured. We're all brothers for life. You might enter the Emperor realm later, but it's not a problem. Also, you can bring your family members over. Chuyu, make the arrangements and have Sister Xian, take care of them, Knight Sorrow said to Sikong Chuyu. Sikong Chuyu nodded. Some of the members of the god-slaying team in the 9 domains world already had their own families. Many years ago, they were all alone, but after many years had passed, they all had their own families and businesses. They all had families that they cared about, just like Sikong Chuyu. After making the arrangements, Knight Sorrow's 9-domain doppelganger went to a tea house not far from the heaven-sealing Great Hall to drink tea. He was quite worried about Emo Tianji. 1 year was almost up. If Emo Tianji didn't improve well in these few decades, she might die in the 9 Emperor Tribulation. While Knight Sorrow was worrying, Emo Tianji came out. A high-level cultivator's sense of time was very accurate. Emo Tianji could also sense the time of the heavenly tribulation. How is it? Knight Sorrow waved his hand and had Emo Tianji sit across from him. Emo Tianji poured herself a cup of tea and said, "It's not bad. I originally thought that time was short and I might not make it in time. After all, my cultivation realm was only slightly above the 8 Emperor Tribulation, not the 9 Emperor Tribulation. My cultivation couldn't keep up with my realm. But in reality, after experiencing some things and enduring the impact of Jun Xuanji unsealing my soul, my mental state improved a lot. My realm also increased. It's about time now." "That's good. These are some pills that my martial uncle prepared for me. I'll give you some of them." Knight Sorrow took out the pills that King Yenwu had given him. He felt that he still had time to prepare, but Emo Tianji didn't have time. "Thank you. These are really supreme-grade pills. But there's no need. I've been bumpy all these years and used up a lot of cultivation resources. However, I still have some healing and recovery pills. I'll accept the Realm Lord's kindness." Emo Tianji opened the pill bottle and took a look before pushing it back to Knight Sorrow. "N to the power of P carat, it's good that you have it. I'm going to preach tomorrow. It should be around the same time as your tribulation. I'll be waiting for your good news," Knight Sorrow said. "Preaching tomorrow? I still have time. Can I go and take a look?" Emo Tianji asked. "Sure. I'll send my battle clone to pick you up. Then, I'll have Misty accompany you. That way, there won't be any problems," Knight Sorrow said after a moment's consideration. Emo Tianji nodded. In the past, she was a being from Heaven Wasteland. The civilization of the celestial realm was meaningless to her. However, it was different now. She had obtained the life origin power of the 9 domains world and was considered a being of the 9 domains world. The civilization that Sector Lord Knight Sorrow was spreading might be helpful to her. Knight Sorrow's battle clone went to the 9 domains world and brought the black-haired Emo Tianji to the Night Moon Villa. He let Emo Tianji and Lin Misty meet. He didn't introduce Emo Tianji to anyone else because he was worried that Emo Tianji would feel awkward. Then, Knight Sorrow took out a piece of refining material. He waved his hands and made a token. There was the word "Night" on it. He handed it to Emo Tianji. "This has my soul aura. If anyone notices something wrong with you and comes to ask about it, show it to them. If there's any trouble, just crush my soul crystal. Don't worry. I won't cause any trouble. After listening to your Tao preaching, I'll return to the 9 domains world to undergo my tribulation. Mo Tianji nodded. Although she wasn't from the celestial realm, she had been hiding in the celestial realm for a while. She knew about Night Sorrow's identity and status in the celestial realm. She knew that this token was the token that allowed her to go anywhere in the celestial realm. After everything was arranged, Night Sorrow brought his family to Heaven Wasteland City. At this time, there were cultivators everywhere in the Heavenly Wasteland City. They had been notified 100 years in advance. All the members of the Heavenly Realm who were qualified to enter the Heavenly Wasteland City had come to listen to the preaching. The celestial realm was currently ruled by the human race. The human Tao civilization was the civilization of the celestial realm. Therefore, they all wanted to see it. It would be beneficial for them. Around the Grand Martial Arts Arena in Heaven Wasteland City were seats for various forces. The Chaos Realm had their own seats. The Reincarnation Island also had their own seats. In the middle of the arena was a platform. After everything was ready, the Grand Elder came to the platform and signaled for everyone to be quiet. Then he said, "A reincarnation cycle lasts for billions of years. There is only one human sovereign in each reincarnation cycle. In the past, there were many reincarnations where no human sovereign appeared. In addition, there were very few human sovereigns who could become deluxe merit monarchs. In this reincarnation cycle and epoch, there was a human sovereign who became deluxe merit monarchs. He has the human sovereign seal and the human clan's deluxe merit canon, Tao Te Ching. From today onwards, the human sovereign will preach for 9 days." After speaking, the Grand Elder cupped his hands to Night Sorrow. This was his respect for the human sovereign. Night Sorrow nodded and walked to the platform. In terms of age, Night Sorrow is young and inexperienced. In terms of cultivation, there are many people who are stronger than Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow is lucky to have mastered the human clan's Tao Te Ching. He has some achievements in cultivation. This time, I will preach the way of the gentleman to everyone. Night Sorrow stood on the platform and talked about the way of the gentleman and the way of the gentleman. During the preaching, golden characters appeared on Night Sorrow's body. They were the records of the way of the gentleman and the way of the gentleman in the Tao Te Ching. After speaking, Night Sorrow sat on the platform and circulated the way of the Tao Te Ching around his body. The book of Tao Te Ching mainly showed the exposition of the way of the gentleman, as well as the common knowledge of civilization about cultivating one's body and morality, being blessed by the way of heaven, and being blessed by luck. The way of the Tao Te Ching rotated around Night Sorrow's body. The way of the Tao Te Ching was displayed in front of everyone. Observing the way of the Tao Te Ching would definitely cleanse one's body, mind, and soul. Night Sorrow was also comprehending the essence of the way of the Tao Te Ching. The martial arts arena was peaceful. Everyone was enveloped in the light of the human clan's Tao Te Ching activated by Night Sorrow. When the sun set on the 9th day, Night Sorrow stood up. This time, the way of the human clan's Tao Te Ching is coming to an end. I will say a few words to everyone. Actually, cultivating the way of the gentleman and the way of the Tao Te Ching is to live with a clear conscience and be upright. Every step of the way must be able to withstand the test and scrutiny. This is also beneficial to one's cultivation. One can reach a state where one's heart is flawless and transparent. In this state, the path forward is bright. This preaching is about cultivating the way of the gentleman. The next preaching will be about kindness. I hope everyone will come and listen. I believe that if every cultivator has the way of the gentleman, then the 100 races of the celestial realm will be different from the celestial realm, Night Sorrow said. Your Majesty, after listening to the way of the gentleman, I have a question in my heart. Cultivators respect the strong. Might is right. Is the way of the gentleman useful? An expert of the Azure Dragons asked. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.